Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the PodAskew Podcast. My name is Rico. With me always is my hetero life mate, CJ. Say hello, everybody, CJ.
Hello, everybody. We are here and just trying something different. Rico started the show. Do not adjust your podcast.
I'm usually a finisher. What the fuck?
Well, hey, everyone has to finish somewhere. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. But, how you doing, brother?
Overall, I'm okay. I'm tired. I worked a lot last night. It's really fucking hot and humid in Oakland, or at least it was yesterday. And I'm out cat sitting for my mother right now, so I finally have a nice breeze, and I'm sitting with the door open. But last night, I was roasting, I had the fan on. I'm sleeping on the couch with nothing on. I got the fan directed at my balls.
I don't want to envision you naked. Don't say shit like that.
You are such a fuddy duddy. I always said it was balls.
No, you said laying on the couch with nothing on.
Okay.
I don't want to picture that.
Well, I thought you were a fan of mine.
Yeah, there's levels of fandom. That's not the level where I'm at.
But I had a fan blowing on my balls.
Puns. Anyways,
but yeah, it's been very fucking hot here. And yesterday I was at the end of my rope with work because not to go into too much detail, but there was a couple times where I snapped at my boss, and I'm like, dude, either you want me here or you don't. If you want to interfere, then interfere and do your job. But if you don't like how I do my job, then you can just stay here and I'll leave. It got a little raw.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So it was the heat. I was just tired, and then eventually and plus I had to drive to my mother's to catch up for her. So it was a lot of I just want to go to bed.
The question is, do you still have a job?
Oh, I still have a job because it's mainly me and the owner. And there's one other manager, and he's been surprisingly deathly ill for some reason.
Ooh.
And I mean, not deathly, just he is not showing up. And there's been a lot of times where I'm I can do today. I don't need you to come in. Just stay home and rest. And that's been going on for weeks.
Wow.
When Steph was in town, it was just yeah, dude, stay home. I got it. Don't worry. And so if I left or if I was fired, honestly, this is not ego in any way, the video store will crumble because 80% of the people that come in to see me.
Yeah, I know what that's like. Years ago, I worked at a Sam Goody. You probably don't remember those, but there used to be a time when if you wanted to buy music, you went to a store and you didn't go to iTunes. You went to a store and bought a physical thing and took it home.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. We're talking about the dark ages. But
is this an 8-track or something?
No. It was a CD. I'm not going to go that far back. Yeah.
A CD?
CDs, yeah.
Oh, God, what the fuck are those? I love the irony is that I work at a video store and I'm trying to pretend
right?
I don't.
Right?
People are like, the fuck's a video store?
Yeah, no, believe me, I used to rent Nintendo games from video stores. So,
Jesus.
Yeah. And I mean Nintendo old school, the gray cartridge things. But anyway, when I worked at Sam Goody, the record store, it was a CD store at the time. I had customers that would only come in when I was there. They would call the store, and if I wasn't there, they wouldn't come in.
Wow.
Yeah, the only difference between my scenario and your scenario is yours is a mom and pop shop, right? That's the only one there is, or maybe another. Yeah, okay. Sam Goody was a nationwide chain, so.
And were you just working at one location, or could you have worked at numerous locations?
In my career there, I worked in numerous locations, but this happened to every location I worked at with different people.
Did customers follow you to your different locations?
No, because they were so spread out. I was the only management level employee that I know of that was single without kids. So it was really easy to ship me off to places where people with, husbands, wives, and children didn't want to go.
Right.
So, And then one of them I did to myself when I went from New Jersey to Arizona for the year I lived out there. I transferred myself to that one. So.
Well, I trust me, dude. I understand. Like, I mean, luckily I made a ton of money for the store last night.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit of the argument that I had with my boss because it was so fucking hot. Even though it was hot and roasting in the store, it was 80 degrees in the store.
Oh, you guys don't have air conditioning?
No, we do, but like I turned on the air conditioning and he turned it off and opened the door, which brought in more heat coming in. And I'm behind the counter, so I'm running around. Everyone else is kind of like, oh, it's cooler inside. And I'm like dripping sweat because I'm running around trying to fucking find movies for people.
Right.
And he keeps turning off the AC, and I'm like, Joe, you don't want me dripping sweat and like grabbing paper towels and like wiping it from my brow every 30 seconds. You want me cool, you want me calm, you want me collected. You want the customers to be like, oh my God, it's so cold in here. You want the customers to want to stay in here, and not want to go outside.
Yeah.
And he said, well, our electric bill was $1,000 last month. And I said, yeah, that
running
sucks.
A business.
But I was like, but you and I can help promote the store. I've been running ideas by him like for the past year or two about like how to promote the store, and he hasn't done a single one of them. So that's sort of where I sort of snapped at him. I'm like, look, if you don't want to be here today, why don't you do what I suggested, which is get some business cards and we'll get some, put some stickers on it and we'll, promote it. Walk down businesses and be like, hey, you're on Piedmont Avenue. We're on Piedmont Avenue. We'd like to help you out. If you can help us out, if you have any coupons, here's our coupons, and vice versa. And he just refuses to do it. So but I made $800 for the store yesterday. So it kind of evens out. $800 for a fucking video store is like, that only happens because of me.
Right. It doesn't even look like there's like a Dunkin' Donuts or anywhere for you to go get like an iced coffee or anything. Jesus, where the fuck is it? So where we are, we're in a small parking lot. Yeah, I see.
Where there's a Verizon store next to us.
Dry cleaners.
There's a dry cleaner, and the dry cleaning, they run their machine all day, every day.
Well, yeah.
So like we hear the movement of the clothes, that giant machine that like brings the clothes to you and shit.
Right.
So I'm hearing all day, and people are like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, "I know. I thought it was an earthquake my first day here, but it's just the dry cleaners." And then we have a deli next to that, but it's a honey baked ham. I don't know if you have those out in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So that's where I would go to get like water or a soda or something. They have sandwiches and they have salads, but they primarily just do, do you want to buy a whole, turkey or a whole ham today? When they're like during the holidays, they are fucking packed, and like have a line around the corner during like Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and shit. And then I always see like people that are just like new to us, kind of looking at us, being like, "Oh my God, there's a fucking video store," as they're going to get their holiday ham.
Right.
So, but what you're not seeing, because I'm assuming you're looking on like Google Maps or something like that.
Yeah.
To the right of us is a main street called Piedmont Avenue.
No, I
can say it. That's got a ton of shops and restaurants and just
it must
places.
Be down further than where I'm at or where you're at.
Across the street and up, there's a tiki bar, so people go there. And then next to that, there's a pizza place. They have drinks and everything. But really going to get like an iced coffee, you have to like walk down like 4 or 5 blocks to go to like a Pete's Coffee or a Starbucks.
Right.
There's a 7-Eleven on the street, but I mean, anybody who's ever had a cup of coffee will always say never go to 7-Eleven for a cup of coffee.
Oh God, their coffee's terrible.
Their coffee is atrocious, man.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, that's going to be the thing I miss when I eventually move out of New Jersey is Wawa, because their coffee is amazing.
Wah.
I'm looking on Piedmont Street. This must be like old. No, it's from January of this year. I'm not seeing any of these things.
No, one of the most famous things is Fenton's. So Fenton's is a huge ice cream parlor kind of diner thing. So they've got like diner food, but they're primarily an ice cream parlor. So Fenton's is sort of a staple of the Bay Area. And it was actually featured in a Pixar movie, Up.
Really?
Did you see Up?
Yeah, a long time ago. It's been a while since I watched it.
There's a part where the little kid, I think his name was Russell?
I don't remember.
The little kid is telling the old man about how, like, oh, well, years ago, my dad used to take me to Fenton's. It's an ice cream place and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the movie, spoiler, it shows them having an ice cream cone together at Fenton's.
There's a Thai place I'm looking at.
I just had that Thai place last night, actually.
Infinite?
I don't know what the fuck it's called. It's across the street from me, and there's not many Thai places on Piedmont Avenue, as far as I know.
Well, it's down quite a few blocks from the look of it. I mean, I've gone down on quite a few blocks.
There's another one about a block away from me.
Oh, all right. Anyway,
so
this is riveting for our listeners.
Well, if you, I mean, here's the thing: is like I know there are like Pixar junkies that listen to us.
Oh yeah.
Pixar is a stone's throw from where I live and where I work.
Oh, is it really?
So, oh my god, dude! Like it's.
I thought it was in LA.
No, dude, it's in Emeryville. Emeryville is like 5 minutes from my house.
I did not know that.
So I've actually had the director of Inside Out, Pete Docter, come in numerous times at where I work. And I mean,
neat.
I haven't spoken to him because I don't want to be that drooling fan. Because like the movie Inside Out fucking changed my life in a major way.
Right.
I never cried at a single film, but I cried for the first time at like 25 years old when I saw Inside Out, because it's a movie all about emotions, having emotions.
Right.
And it just hit me. So every time he's come in, and he's like really tall, and like he's got I mean, he looks very like approachable, but he also has these really big eyes that kind of are like unnerving a little bit. And you know, it's a celebrity. He's a fucking big time director. And I'm like, I really want to be like, dude, your movie literally changed my life. I love your work, blah, blah, blah. So I have animators that come. I have a great customer who, he started out working at Disney, and he worked on Scar from The Lion King.
Okay.
So he comes in all the time, and he's like always like, I'm always like saying, hey, what are you working on? He's like, I can't tell you, but I can tell you you're going to love it. I'm like, ooh.
Because he knows you, or he's just saying that? I'm not being smart. I'm asking.
No, it's both, because he knows I'm a big fan of animation, especially Pixar, because that's, you know, when you're in the Bay Area, you know, Pixar is like it's like having, you know, Walt Disney Studios like around the corner from your house. That's the equivalent of having Pixar. Right. So to have it in like Oakland of all fucking places is such a bizarre thing. But like the Pixar movies will throw in some references to the area, like Incredibles 1. I haven't seen Incredibles 2 yet. Incredibles 1, when Mr. Incredible is like driving during that high-speed chase in the beginning before he goes to his wedding.
Right.
He's going like down San Pablo Avenue. That's like a main street, like across from Pixar Studios.
Gotcha.
So I don't know why we went all over the place on fucking. But look,
I'm looking at this street, man. I got to go check out this folks art store. That looks really interesting.
Oh, dude, like Piedmont has a lot of like great shit. Like there's a lot of great restaurants. Where I'm always telling people whenever they call and say, hey, where are you located? I'm saying, okay, we're between the cemetery and Fenton's. So where you go to die, and then the happiest place on earth.
Okay.
So I was like, we're right in the middle of death and ice cream.
Interesting.
Because the cemetery is like basically in the back of us. And
okay.
I mean, there's no one super famous that lives out there is buried there. Do you live at a cemetery if you're dead, even though you're not alive?
You reside there.
That's true. Yeah, it's like a lease that you just took advantage of.
Yeah. No, it'll probably be the only piece of property I ever own. That's actually really fucking funny.
I'm going to give you that, man. That was fucking funny.
Thank you.
You
got a comic book store on that street.
Yeah, Steph and I went there around my birthday, in part because, holy shit, I've been avoiding this comic book store for 4 years because I know if I go in there, I'm going to waste my money.
Right.
So I'd like put it off for years, and then Steph and I walked in around my birthday. And I primarily wanted to talk to the owner and be like, hey, you know, we're a video store up the street. I want to do a little bit of business as well as a little bit of exploration.
Sure.
And I also want to see if they have Thor and Thor: The Dark World, because those are the only two MCU DVDs that I don't have. I have them all.
And you don't have them at your store? You can buy?
No, not that I could buy. We only have copies I could rent. If we have extra copies, then I could buy a copy, but we only have like 2 of each, and that's just not enough, especially with the MCUs constantly like making new movies.
Yeah.
So, and like Thor and Thor: The Dark World are like really fucking expensive online to buy. Like, it's like $20 a movie.
That's actually not bad. For a long time, they were $30 a piece.
But for DVDs right now?
No, for DVD, sounds about right.
Well, I mean, we would stop by Best Buy to get the headphones that I'm wearing right now, and
you're welcome.
It was like, thank you. It was like $25 a movie there, and I'm like, fuck that, dude! I could get blown for $25.
Yeah, she might not have teeth.
It's an old joke from Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Okay.
Where like Eddie Murphy goes into a bar and like it's sort of an upper class like swanky nightclub, and he's like, "All right, give me a Coke," and the bartender gives him a Coke. He's like, $8. He's like, "For a Coke, I can get blown for $8."
That's funny. I haven't seen that movie in so long. That's back when Eddie Murphy was a good actor.
Was Eddie Murphy a good actor, or was he just really funny that we accepted him trying to act?
Okay, I'll give you that. But I mean, things like that movie, Coming to America, those are good Eddie Murphy movies.
I'm not saying there are good Eddie Murphy movies and there's bad Eddie Murphy movies, but whether he could act, that's a whole other thing. Although,
sure.
He was in some fucking movie, Mr. Something, recently, and he looked like he was really like stretching out his dramatic chops. I didn't see it, but from the trailer, he looked like he was acting his ass off.
I don't know. Let me see.
I can't do an Eddie Murphy impression, but I could do a micro Eddie Murphy impression.
Okay.
Which is like, let me tell you something. And that's all it is. Let me tell you something. But it's not even very good. But I managed to like pull it out perfectly one time when I was in the car with Steph, and she's like, "Oh my God, what the fuck?" That was like spot on.
He did a thing called Mr. Church. I bet you that's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. It looks like he's got like a fedora or like a
there's no picture. I'm just looking at the title. And we're going to be getting into some movies that are coming out a little bit later in the episode, but they are making 4. Beverly Hills Cop 4.
Dude, they've been trying to make Beverly Hills Cop 4 for like 10 years. And then they like made a show.
They did,
and then that was fucking apparently really bad.
He made an appearance on it.
Yeah, because it was all about Axel's son.
Oh, is that what it was?
Here's the fucking interesting thing. When they made the show, a Beverly Hills Cop, the show, they had the actor Brandon T. Jackson. Did you see Tropic Thunder?
No. Yes, like once, a long time ago.
Okay. The younger black guy who...
Yeah, I'm not going to remember.
His moniker is Al Pacino.
Okay.
And he and RDJ are always going to be like the race fights because RDJ is like in character as a black guy.
Right.
And this guy is an actual black guy. So they cast him as a young Axel Foley Jr. The weird thing is I'm 99% positive he was on either the show Entourage but I'm pretty sure it was Californication, where they were making a joke show called Santa Monica Cop, which was clearly Beverly Hills Cop.
Right.
And he played the Santa Monica Cop TV series. And then fast forward 5-10 years later, he's doing Beverly Hills Cop, the TV series. Basically, it's just like life imitating art, which is a spoof in its own fucking way.
Right.
And I gotta imagine he's like looking at his agent and being like, I kind of already did this in joke form. Why are you actually making me do this?
Because it's a paycheck.
Yeah, but then it was canceled because anybody would have told you Beverly Hills Cop the show is a bad idea unless it's like on HBO.
Yeah, but no one thought the Lethal Weapon show would do well, and it's still going.
Not right now. I mean, they're doing some major fucking like haul right now. The guy who was playing
Riggs, yeah,
was like abusive and was fired and shit like that.
He was an asshole from what I heard. So
and they're replacing him with Sean William Scott, so it's gonna be like his quote unquote brother. It's gonna last like maybe one season.
Speaking of assholes, there's been several people that have died, and one of them was an asshole.
Oh God.
Well, hey, what are you gonna do? But we'll get to him, I guess. Let us talk about that though. There have been some deaths in the celebrity world since we last recorded. It's been for those who are unaware, even though we've been releasing episodes, it's been what, 2.5, 3 weeks since we sat down and did this.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, because life. But
I had a birthday as well, and Steph was in town, and things got all fucked up. And...
Like I said, life, no big deal, life. So we're gonna talk about a few of them. We're not gonna talk about everybody because, well, we'd be here all day doing death, and I don't want this to become Tinseltown Stiffs. So, but a couple that hit, the world of celebrity, pop culture, and our world, not necessarily like individually us, but people that we're aware of. And one of them, in the fact that we just put out a Spider-Man episode, is Steve Ditko, the artist and co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, actually. If Stan Lee is the father of Marvel Comics, then Steve Ditko I would definitely liken to like an uncle. Okay. Yeah. I got you there.
I mean, he's definitely, he didn't have as much of a expanding I don't want to say filmography because it's not filmography, but a bibliography, that's what it is. Okay. Of work as much as Stan Lee, because Stan Lee created like so many characters. Steve Ditko worked on
a lot of them,
Spider-Man, and had a helping hand, I think, primarily in Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. He did create a couple, but he was definitely he influenced a lot of the modern day Spider-Man that we look at. Like, the eyes are total Steve Ditko. Especially for the current Spider-Man we have, the Tom Holland Homecoming Spider-Man, that those eyes and that sort of suit is very influenced by Steve Ditko.
Right. And that's mentioned a lot in the things that we've been reading about him. One of the interesting facts for me, because I'm out here in Jersey, is he was born in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which is only 4 hours from here.
Yeah, I saw that when I was looking him up. I was like, I wanted to ask you how far away that is from you.
It's about 4.5 hours, give or take, depending on traffic and how you drive, things like that. So, just
from the name, it kind of sounds like a small kind of town. Would you liken it to that? Have you been to Johnstown?
I've driven, for lack of a better phrase, I've driven through it because the Pennsylvania Turnpike does go through it. But I don't think I've actually ever been or like in downtown proper. But I can tell you based on where it's located in Pennsylvania and knowing enough about that area of the state, it is probably a smaller town. Like, I'm not saying it's like, 20
it's not Piedmont
people.
Avenue.
What's that?
It's not Piedmont Avenue.
No. I mean, it's certainly bigger than that, but it's, according to this, the population in 2013 was 20,000 people. So
that's really small.
Yeah. Well, compared to where you're used to living, but not for me, that's about as many people in the town that I grew up in, probably. So,
where did you grow up in?
A town called Collingswood.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me that.
Yeah. But see, the way Jersey's shaped and divided, I can be back in Collingswood in 15 minutes. I actually go there every day to go to work because the train system over to Philadelphia that I take has a station in Collingswood. So that's where I usually go to get the train.
So do you like pass by your old childhood home like basically every other day?
No, because the way I take to get there doesn't take me past it, but I could if I wanted to. it would be out of the way, but I could do it.
So I got a little bit of Spider-Man Steve Ditko pseudo trivia for you.
Oh, trivia? Oh shit! I didn't know there was going to be math. Anyway, go ahead.
There's no math. You're fine.
All right.
It's not a question. It's just do you remember the landlord in the Raimi Spider-Man movies?
Oh, the it seemed like he was like Middle Eastern guy or Slovakian guy or whatever.
He was like Russian.
Yeah.
His name was Mr. Ditkovich.
Well, there you go.
That was named after Steve Ditko.
Yeah. That makes sense. And
but actually, I was looking it up, and I was trying to see if Steve Ditko's name was Ditkovich, but it wasn't. That was just like, we're going to take Ditko and we're going to make it Ditkovich.
But his parents were Slovakian immigrants, so the character.
It's possible the original name was Ditkovich in the early time.
Yeah, definitely.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, the guy who's like Brent, that's who we're talking about.
And then the daughter had the crush on Peter, if I recall.
She was kind of cute. Not gonna lie, she was baking cookies for him and shit.
I actually wonder if they kind of, that what's that expression? When they ugly them up a little bit. Because I bet you she was even more attractive as a person than the character was.
I had seen her in a show called Hung, which is it is what you think it is. It's about a guy with a big dick.
I'm familiar with it. I've never watched it, but I'm familiar with it.
She's in one of the earlier or mid episodes or something, and you see her naked.
Now I need to go watch that.
I can tell you, she is. They did not ugly her up. Like they kind of added a more innocent kind of look for her.
Well, that's kind of what I was going for. Yeah. They
didn't ugly her up. They kind of girled her up, I guess, instead of womaned her up.
Right.
We need to stop talking about this because this is going a whole other.
We're gonna get ourselves in trouble. Is what's gonna happen.
We really need to stop. We both have girlfriends who'll be like, "What the fuck, guys?"
Yeah, basically. So.
Yeah.
So.
I did want to talk to you about something.
What's up? Was it in this, or should we save it for later?
Well, you and I talked the other day about doing a cosplay conversation, maybe.
Yeah, eventually.
And then I told you about this fucking cosplayer that I sort of followed because she was attractive.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Dude, the following day, this shit hit the fan from this cosplayer.
Really?
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. CJ and I talked off podcast for 45 minutes before we started recording.
Which we usually do. Just for
which we do. We always sort of say, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to rehearse? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Most of the time, we just sort of, we know what we're going to talk about, but we wing it. We're just fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation. Let's
at least have
natural.
an idea of what we're going in with.
Yeah, this I just deviated. I just fucked that whole setup up because I just remembered something.
Yeah. Well,
so there's this, and I want to throw a little controversy at this person. Her name is Momocon. And I think her real name is Mariah or Maria or so. I don't know what her fucking name is. She's a voluptuous plus size. She's attractive if you love curvy women, and she does a lot of cosplay shit, but she does it very sexualized. So I was talking to CJ about this 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 days ago. It's just out of just conversation because we're men and we're drooling about women sometimes. And the following day, she gets all of her booths and sponsorships revoked from cosplay cons or whatever the fuck they are because she has been a notorious bullier. And now it's been revealed that she has been sexually assaulting people at cons.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
By pulling down women's tops and grabbing their ass. And then she got into more trouble because she blamed it on her ADHD.
Oh,
so now everyone with ADD is oh, fuck you. You can't blame it out on us, on this disease. And so right now she's just she's just done. Everyone's Momocon is canceled. That's the hashtag I keep seeing. And I'm CJ and I were talking about like deaths that happen, and I'm like, holy shit, did I predict this? Because this happens all the time where we'll be talking about something like a celebrity and then they'll die the next day, or I'll be thinking about an actor and then I'll like be like, I really want to watch a Rob Lowe movie for some reason. I have no idea why. And then I'll go on IMDb to look up a filmography and it's like his birthday.
Oh, really? Okay.
So weird shit like that happens all the time with me. Like, so the fact that we were just talking about MomoCon, which is something we would never talk about because I don't know shit about cosplay and it's such a foreign conversation to me. Then the next day she just basically gets like her own like Me Too accusations.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm looking up some information about her because I was looking up the information about what happened and someone commented on like she's not that famous. I've never heard of her and what could she be really doing on Patreon? So it made me want to go look at her Patreon and she's really not like I'm in support of cosplay and all that stuff, but like really this
Well, she got a lot of controversy because she over-sexualized everything she did. That she was basically just doing softcore porn. And with her Patreon, you could see a little bit more.
That's not what it's saying, though. That's not what you get for joining.
But at the same time, she has like requested donations to help for charities, and then she's kept them. She's kept the money that she promised was for someone else.
That's fucked up.
It's really fucked up. And then she's bullied people about their self-images and shit like that. And then she's alleged. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but allegedly she had surgery and has like denied it, which doesn't matter to me. But like, the point is that she's lied repeatedly and
right.
And I mean, is she attractive? Yeah. Is she also a horrible fucking person? Probably. Sometimes those go hand in hand. But now, like, I kind of followed her because I'm like, I want to see what a hot Boba Fett looks like because she dressed up like in a Boba Fett costume with like her tits out. I'm like, I kind of want to see that. I'm a guy. I like to see a voluptuous woman, whether wearing a Wookiee costume or a fucking Darth Vader costume or a Leia costume. I'm a geek and I have a dick.
Do you remember about 5 minutes ago when you said we need to stop talking about that before you get yourself in trouble? Just a reminder.
Well, I don't respect her. I respect the other actress because she's an actress. This is not.
I get that, but you just said you wanted to see a chick in a Boba Fett costume with her tits hanging out. So,
well, for anyone who's, for a certain someone who could be listening, take notes.
Jesus. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, she's a horrible person and go fuck yourself. So,
yes.
And speaking of horrible people, we teased this already. One of the other people that passed away, and generally I don't speak ill of the dead, but this guy was a shitty person, and that's Joe Jackson, the patriarch of the Jackson family. For those of you keeping track, that would be Michael, Janet, LaToya, the Jackson 5, that whole crew.
Tito. Come, Tito. Let's go run away together.
Oh, jeez. Anyway.
He is the worst Jackson since Andrew Jackson.
Who, Joe Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So, I don't even know.
I'm laughing at my own joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So,
well, someone's got to laugh at my jokes. It's got to be me, I guess.
Yeah, it ain't going to be me. So.
Oh, fuck you.
But yeah. You know what, though? He did die, and while he was a shitty person, I'm sure there's somebody that misses him somewhere, so I'm sorry for you, but good fucking riddance.
Is Michael Jackson's mom still alive?
Yes. Yes, she is.
Okay, so she's probably the only one who's probably like, "Aw, my husband died," but she's probably also kind of like, "Yeah, dude, fucking finally."
I'm not so sure about that, because I don't know that they've lived together for years.
It's still someone that she spent a good chunk of her life with. I mean, whether she and he got along, I'm sure a little bit of her is kind of relieved because she saw him beat the shit out of the kids all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, my mom and my dad they're not close, but when one of them will die, the other one's going to be really fucking upset. You know, they shared a life. They had a child together. I mean, you may hate the fucking person, but you don't hate them that much.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But fuck Joe Jackson. He's a piece of shit.
He's got 11 kids. 10 of them with his wife. Catherine. 10 of them.
Dude.
10.
Poor Catherine, dude. That's
what I'm screaming. Like, for real.
Dude, that is just... Leave her alone, dude.
Well, they were all born, it looks like, between 1950 and 1974.
I mean, you got to give Joe credit. He did a lot of fucking.
Yeah, he did. Plus, he had a piece on the side.
Yeah, dude, he's a piece of shit, man.
Yeah, he's not a good person. So,
no, speaking ill of the dead, fuck him, dude. Fuck.
All right.
I'm glad he's dead. Oh, fuck him. I'm glad he said it.
All right. So let's move on. Also passing away in Las Vegas was for those who watch.
Because there's no deaths in Vegas.
Well, no, but I'm just saying 3 of the 4 people we're talking about that passed away today, or that recently passed away in Las Vegas. So number 2 is Richard Benjamin Harrison, and for those of you who would watch the show Pawn Stars, that is the old man. He ran that gold and silver pawn shop out there for 30 years. Korean War veteran. I think he's got a couple medals. I couldn't find it, but he's been running that shop for years, and they've been making fun of him off and on. Not because of Parkinson's. He's just a grumpy old curmudgeon, and they loved him for
Jesus, he had Parkinson's?
Yeah.
Is that what killed him?
Yeah.
Wow, that's too bad.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what's funny?
That's a bad one.
I never watched the show like religiously. Like, I'd be flipping through channels, and if nothing was on and it was on, I'd watch it. So it's not like I never watched it, but I wasn't one of those people that was like, oh my god, new episode of Pawn Stars is on, I gotta watch it. But the show in general, he just made it fun. He was one of the people that made it fun. Because he would just fucking pick on everybody in that shop.
I'll have to watch a clip of it because I don't know who he is. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, just watch a couple episodes.
I've seen clips, so I'm sure I have seen him once or twice, just without even realizing it.
I'm sure. So, but yeah, he was a fun guy on the show. So if you do get the chance to watch a couple clips or an episode, you know, it's junk food shit when you got nothing better to do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So
it's what you watch when Comic Book Man is canceled, I guess.
Oh God, yeah. We didn't even talk about it. That's a death. The loss of Comic Book Men.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because
yeah.
Because we're both big fans of Comic Book Men, but like, I have been unable to find them without having to pay like an arm and a leg to just watch. Because it was on Netflix for a while, and then they only had the first season for some fucking reason for a while.
Because I think they struck a deal with Hulu or something. I
don't want to fucking pay for Hulu.
I thought you already had Hulu.
No, I don't have Hulu. I work at a video store, but I have Netflix, and then I use Steph's Amazon Prime. But even then, I barely use Amazon Prime. She might have a Hulu. I can probably ask for the password.
I think she does. So yeah, I think it's on Hulu. It might be. I can look to see where you can, if it tells you where you can stream it.
Because I was like, I think halfway through like the 3rd season. I don't know. I don't remember where I was. I probably will like, because I've seen most of the 3rd season and the first 3 seasons numerous times because they're always just a great thing to like kick back and have something in the background and but then like there was a bunch of other episodes that were piling on that I just didn't have access to, and I didn't want to torrent them because I'm not a huge fan of torrenting. And I was really kind of hoping that like work would buy them, but work's like, no, this is only for you. Like, we're not going to buy them just so you can rent them.
It looks like, I hate to say it to you, buddy, but it looks like you have to buy it on iTunes.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because it is a great show, and or at least it was a great show.
You know what you might want to check, just based on what I'm seeing here? It looks like it's on Amazon Instant, which I don't know if that ties into Steph's Prime, but if it does, then you should be able to watch it for free using her Prime.
All right.
So I would check there.
Okay. Yeah, it was such a...
It sucks.
I mean, do you think that, like, the show was in some way scripted?
No, well, no. But I don't know if you heard the Tell 'em Steve Dave... I can talk. Tell 'em Steve Dave or the Smodcast where they talk about the cancellation of the show. Did you listen to either of those?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So the Smodcast one, the Tell 'em Steve Dave is only Walt, Brian, and BQ, Brian Quinn. But this Smodcast one is the whole Comic Book Man cast. So it's Walt, Brian, Ming, and Mike Zapsik, and then Kev. And they're talking about it. And so the show wasn't scripted in the sense of you say this, you say that, but it was like, we're going to do this week, meaning like the drag race with the Batmobile that they did, I think in season 2, or going to the Pez factory like they did in this most recent season. They went to the Pez factory. So those kinds of things, and the people that came in to sell stuff, they weren't actors. They were actual people with real products to sell, but they solicited for those people to come in. Like, they had to pass screenings, and was the product worth being on TV and that kind of stuff. Like, I couldn't have gone up there with my collection because it's not that important or that vast, unless I happen to have, like, Spider-Man #1 signed by Stan, something like that.
Right.
But, so that kind of stuff was, and I know for a fact that the counter that they did the transactions at was, bless you, built for the show, because it's ironic because I was looking at the video room while we were talking about earlier, your store. The counter at the stash itself is actually very similar to the one in your store, and it wasn't big enough for them to use for filming. So they built a fake counter in the middle of the store for doing the transaction. Now, transactions were real, but the location. So those things were like, quote unquote, planned, but the dialogue between them and all that was, according to them, as it would go.
Well, I had a feeling all that was like kind of, I mean, especially the banter between like Brian and Walt and everything and Ming. Right. That seemed natural. But like, I remember an episode where like a guy came in and like told them about his bat cave, and then they went to the dude's house.
Right. So I think that stuff was planned, but I don't think any of the conversation in terms of like when they would talk to each other about it, or even like they probably, and I'm speculating based on what they've talked about, but they probably said to Walt and those guys, hey, you got a guy coming in who has his own bat cave, and he may offer you an opportunity, or he's going to offer you an opportunity to come see it,
Yeah.
But that's all they told him. You know what I mean? So when they got there, they didn't know what to expect or that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, whenever I see like a reality show, whether it's this or like Kitchen Nightmares or something, and then it shows how the camera crew is inside when the person is like walking in through the front door, allegedly for the first time.
Right.
It gives the impression, oh, this is them going to this guy's house for the first time. That I'm always like, because I know they're just like, okay, we're going to rehearse this. We're going to walk in. We're going to exercise. And we're going to go downstairs and we're going to find your hidden room, blah, blah, blah. That, it always seems a little forced for me because.
Well, some of that stuff is forced.
Because the alternate is that the camera crew showed up early and were like in the guy's house, like, okay, so guys, come in 3, 2, 1, we're going to film you walking in for the first time.
Which is actually how I think it happens. To be very honest with you, I think that's how that happens. I think there's a producer there. I think the producer goes with the camera crew early, and maybe the director, and figures out exactly what angle and that kind of stuff. But when you have, just staying with Comic Book Man, when you have Brian and Walt and Mike and Ming walking in there, it is the first time they're seeing it. I think that's real. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah. I think they're trying to get genuine reactions, but they don't want to rehearse too much.
Right, exactly. I think that's exactly what happens. Yeah, but I think there has to be some form of pre-planning because, to your point about the camera, you can't. I mean, how do you do that? So I agree. Do you know what I mean? Like some of that stuff has to be planned, but that's more behind the scenes planning. And from what they said in the Smodcast episode, they were kept out of the loop on that stuff on purpose. So
not to mention, like they're going to someone's house. And he's like, because it totally could have been like, do you want to see my bat cave? And then walk into a fucking dungeon, and the guy's got a gun on them. He's like, all right.
I'm sure all that's.
He's like, you thought this was the bat cave. This is the Joker room.
I'm sure all that stuff is vetted. I'm certain of it. So, but you're right. Some of these shows are probably much more scripted and planned and things like that. You know, that's why a lot of them I don't like the ones like the Real Housewives of Atlanta and that kind of shit. I never like those because they're bullshit. You know what I mean?
Well, because, I mean, when you break it down, the Comic Book Men show is, okay, we're going to talk about comics and we're going to have some customers bring in some random shit. But, like, they have to dramatize some stuff. They have to make things more interesting. Like okay, so this week we're going to dress up as zombies. And we're going to do a zombie marathon run. Or,
right.
Okay, we're going to go to a yard sale. They or not a yard sale, a flea market. Like, they literally went to, like, they made a whole episode about going to the fucking flea market.
Right,
like,
which, by the way, that episode pissed me off. That episode pissed me off.
Why?
Well, okay, because if you recall, the town that they went to is called Collingwood.
Yeah.
The town I grew up in is called Collingswood.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Did we? I don't think we. If we did, then it might be on that pilot episode that we never released.
It is on the pilot. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, we keep joking. We're never we haven't released it. I don't.
What?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I've always been kind of torn, be like, fuck it, let's release it. And I'm like, wait, no one.
No, it's gonna come out, but I just don't know when. And we'll make sure to record like a 5 or 10 minute, like in the beginning. Hey, this is when we first ever talked. However long ago it is at that point, whether it's 6 months, a year, or whatever it is, So, no, we'll do that because we also have and I'll tease this. You and I and Steph talked about it and came up with this idea like a month ago. We have a bloopers reel that I'm compiling as I edit. And some of the stuff has actually stayed in the episodes that we've released, but I've also taken a copy of it for the bloopers. And some of the stuff is unreleased. So we're going to be doing that at some point too.
Before you release it, I want a rough draft of that. I want to hear that shit. I just want to hear us fucking off.
Well, here's what I was thinking with that, and we'll pull behind the curtain for a second and then get back to what we were going to talk about tonight. But I think, and I'll certainly let you hear it in advance because I was planning on that anyway, but I think we should play it and then like comment on it. So like do a running commentary on that episode, and that will be the episode. We'll commentate the bloopers episode.
Okay.
I think that'd be fun because some of this stuff is going to be like months old. We're both going to have forgotten we said it.
My only comment about that is that it's going to be you and me listening to you and me. And if we're going to be talking, we have to like pause it and so we don't overlap our own voices.
Oh, absolutely. That was the plan. We'll listen to a clip. We'll talk about the clip. We'll pause the clips. We'll talk about what we just heard and run the next one.
Dude, that's how it is on like certain shows where they do the whole clips episode where they have no new material. That's what we're going to be doing. We'll be like,
we're totally doing a clip show.
we're basically doing like a whole episode of like Family Guy, like that one time when I did this, and then just shows that clip.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and maybe we can get our respective lovers to come and do it with us. So we'll see.
I thought we were each other's respective lovers.
No, we're hetero life mates.
I'm confused.
Yeah, that's all right. You're always confused.
A little more than usual.
Yeah, well, that's all right. So, why don't we get back to the episode?
Oh shit, we're doing a show? I had no fucking clue.
People listening.
Okay,
we actually have. But that's something else we should talk about real quick before we move on. We actually have listeners. We found that out in the last 2 weeks. We actually have some pretty serious listeners, and I'm very happy about that. So thank you to all 2 of you. No.
Oh, that was so good.
Thank you.
Yes.
No.
Neither of them are my parents. That's what I found out as well.
One of them is mine, but that's no. One of your friends has reached out to us, and
one of my friends and one of my old coworkers, and I know he's listening. Dustin, you are going to be at one point on our show. We have some guests people
lined up
coming up.
Yeah,
we're super excited about.
Totally.
Because as much as CJ and I love talking to each other, it gets kind of boring a little bit sometimes. It's always exciting, but it's like, all right, we know more or less how the other person's going to have this opinion. But what we really want is, I want a really good debate. That's something that you and I have done from time to time, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or DC. But I want someone to have an opinion that's so out of left field that, one, makes me think about it, and 2, makes me be like, oh, well, fuck that. And I have a feeling, if anybody could do it, it'd probably be Dustin. Dustin will probably be like you and I will have our own opinion, and then Dustin will just come out of nowhere and either agree with us or be like, well, I got a completely different fucking opinion, so here's this.
Well, you wanted he and I to get to know each other a little bit, so we have been chatting a little.
On
offline.
Text or on audio?
Text, yeah.
Okay.
And he actually is the first and only person that's asked for the Dubbed in English EP, the opening music to our show. So I did send him that. So I have yet to hear his
awesome.
reaction. Yeah, no, very cool, but I've yet to hear his reaction. But on top of that, he came up with this. I thought you and I usually pick the show topics, right? Because it's our show. But I threw out to him I asked him what would he want to talk about. And he suggested something that I would like to do, and we're not going to bum rush you with it. I was certainly going to tell you about it, and I will now, and if you want to talk about it in depth later, we will, before we do the episode. But he wants to do, and this was his way of keeping you in the conversation, he wants to do movie soundtracks.
Oh, it's a great idea.
Yeah, I love it, because it hits my wheelhouse of music. It stays in your wheelhouse of movies, and he said he can wax intellectual on both topics. So I think it could be a real fun conversation.
Oh, for sure, dude. That's. I think I'm already got, because I try to be the one who comes with the titles, and so I'm already kind of got a title kind of brewing. I'm not going to ruin it because I want to.
Yeah.
I'll tell you off camera, but.
Yeah.
So Dustin, get ready.
Yeah, and that's coming. And then our Twitter friend, Arlen, we are working out logistics that may delay this as of today, which is a little disappointing, but we'll see what we can do. Not throwing her under the bus yet. But
we could also have maybe next week be Dustin.
If we have to. Yeah, absolutely. But she and I, and would I say to a lesser extent you? Or would you say you're on par with us?
What are you talking about?
In our fandom of the
of this topic?
Yeah.
Of the
character. The character as a whole. No. We're gonna talk. I'm gonna say it, but I just was trying to set some groundwork.
For the character as well as a lot of the media, I'm pretty on par with you guys.
Okay.
All right. Exception of the show that
you're watching right now. Yeah. So what we're talking about is Sherlock Holmes. One of the first books I can remember reading was a Sherlock Holmes book. So Sherlock Holmes has been a character I've been a huge fan of for years, and as many people know, there have been many iterations of the character via radio and audio play and books and TV and movies, and I think there's even a couple web series. Like, this character and we'll get into the history of it on that episode, but for as long as it's been around, to have as much staying power as it does is impressive. So we're gonna do a whole.
I forgot to mention. They talk about Sherlock. They talk about Arthur Conan Doyle on Batman on Batman last night.
Oh, did they? All right, that's the new one that just came out. I'll be excited to hear that. So, but so we're gonna be doing a Sherlock episode, and hopefully that'll be coming real soon. That's on the docket as well. So, and I'll use this time real quick to send a friendly reminder to our 2 listeners that if you have show topic ideas, if things you guys want to hear about, let us know. It's not to say that we can't come up with shows, but we want to be interactive with you guys. So if you have an idea, bring it on.
I also have a question and a plug as well. I haven't done any Rico's Rants in like weeks.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is, life and birthday, and you and I've been focusing more on this show. That's not to say I don't want to do any more Rico's Rants. I still want to do it. It was my first baby. It was my first love. This is, it's now sort of becoming my side chick. It's kind of not as much as I want.
You're cheating on her.
I'm cheating on Rico's Rants.
With PodAskew.
I feel bad. God, dude. That's just how much I love you, CJ.
I love you too, brother.
So what I want is for any of those 2 listeners, you're more than welcome to tweet me a topic or a movie or something to talk about, because sometimes I just have no idea. Sometimes I have to kind of force myself to do a episode.
Well, I gave you some assignments that you have yet to do, so I'm just saying. There's 4 movies off the top of my head that I gave you assignments on. 5 actually. One of which you said you had trouble finding, so that's not your fault. But
yeah, but I mean, there are those that I have in the back of my head, but it's like, again, those are ones that I'm forcing myself to do. But also, I still have I call my number 1 fan. He's my fan from overseas. He's out in the Netherlands, and like that's how weird it is that I don't have fans that are even in my family for Rico's Rant, but I have a fan who's all the way in the fucking Netherlands. And he and I mean, nothing happened, but like he and I were usually talking like every day or every other day. And now he's going through a bad time right now. I think his dog just passed, and that sort of broke him up.
That sucks. If our dog died, I'd be devastated. So
yeah, man. So like but even before that, he and I were just sort of like you sort of like took over that whole like, oh, I'm talking to someone that I have never met,
right?
Kind of thing. So, anyways, for anybody who wants a suggestion or has a suggestion or a topic or has a question, you can feel free to tweet me at Rants Rico, and we'll supply the handles as well. You can also tweet us at the PodAskew.
All our credentials will be at the end of the show. I do have a question and a show suggestion. The question has nothing to do with Rico's Rants, and obviously the show suggestion. So what do you want first?
Whatever.
Okay. Well, geez, get shitty about it. The show suggestion is we just kind of went through the comic book men thing, but clearly it's really bothering them. Bothered me too, but you might maybe do it like a little homage to comic book men, because you've done a couple episodes that aren't about movies or any particular show or anything. You've done a couple of those things like on trailers and whatnot. So hey, why not do an RIP to the comic book men?
I can do that. That's...
And then the question I have for you, and if you want me to edit this out, I will. Is your mom's cat still alive?
Yes. The fucking cat is still alive.
Well, you talked about the guy's dog dying, and it reminded me that the other day you thought it was like on its way out, so I was curious.
Actually, since I've been here, I haven't seen the cat, so let me go upstairs. So I had checked the cat when I got home last night, but the cat hasn't been eating. So I have been really kind of worried about this cat because it's a little older, and it was also kind of like it's never been social with me, which I find really upsetting because I'm a big cat fan.
Right.
This cat has been very not friendly to me. It's always been hissing at me, and we try and pet it, and it loves to be pet, and then also just goes fucking bipolar. So I just went upstairs and found the cat under the bed, and it's just staring at me like, what the fuck do you want?
Well, at least it's still alive, so good there.
Yeah, for now.
But speaking of things that aren't alive, there is... God. I'm trying to segue. It's no easy way to do it. I don't know. There is one more person I want to talk about that passed away in the world of celebrity, and this one hits me a little hard because for those of you who don't know, because I don't know that we've really talked about it on the show, we have mentioned that my wheelhouse is music, but I don't know that we've talked about how intense of a love that I have for music.
Right.
So much so that I have a bloody G clef tattooed on my inside forearm.
You really?
Yeah. You've never seen that?
I've never seen your tattoo. Let me see.
I thought I sent it to you. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because of the camera angle. Hold on.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Thank you. It's my first and only tattoo at this point. So
it looks like an infection.
Thanks.
No, I'm saying like it looks like a badass tattoo, but because the blood is like seeping out, it kind of looks like.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That tattoo is instrumental to your life.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, it really what it boils down to. So, I actually, and I don't think I've told you this, Rico, but I want to get a microphone next to it, but like an old school like that silver rectangular one with all the striped lines.
Yeah.
I want to get one of those with like a pair of headphones wrapped around it to represent the podcast.
I've toyed with the idea of getting a film, like a film camera.
There you go. If we're ever in the same fucking place at the same time, maybe we could do that. That'd be fun.
Right.
You get yours, I'll get mine.
Get tattooed of each other on our balls.
No. So, but in any event, so music's been a huge part of my life. All styles. I love really all kinds of music, but my heart and soul musically sits in heavy metal. And Vinnie Paul Abbott, the drummer from Pantera and the brother of the late Dimebag Darrell Abbott, passed away 2 weeks ago at this point. Passed away in his sleep. They say he had a heart attack, which makes sense. He's a big guy. He was not healthy in that regard.
Right.
But a hell of a drummer. Like right here, like a little bit of Pantera right here. These guys. I know it's not your thing, Rico, but that drumming is so crisp. So for the people who don't know the story about Dimebag, I want to tell that very quickly. I'm actually wearing my Dimebag tribute t-shirt tonight, the Blacktooth Grin t-shirt, which was a drink he actually created based on a lyric from a Megadeth song. It's for my drinkers out there. It is it's 1 part Crown Royal, 2 parts Seagram 7, and a splash of Coke, and he calls it the Blacktooth Grin because of a lyric from Megadeth's "Sweating Bullets." Which, Rico, I know you're not in that style of music, but you need to go check that song out. It's a mentally insane person having a conversation with himself. That's the whole premise of the song.
That sounds like the whole premise of our show.
Well, yeah, kind of. But the first lyric in the song is "Hello, me, meet the real me," and it goes on from there.
I have a joke which is like, someone said I'm schizophrenic, but I can tell you we're both fine.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so Dimebag was on stage in on December 8th, 2005 with his new band, Damage Plan. It was him and Vinny have never, until Dime's death, had never been in a band without each other at any point in their lives. Wow. Every band that either one of them had been in, they've been in together. And Vinny was older than Dime by 2 years, I think. Something like that, 2 or 3 years. And Dimebag is considered to be one of the best metal guitarists ever. Like, just, he's ridiculously good. And their band Pantera that they originally created broke up, and there's a whole bunch of controversy about the breakup and what happened, and I'm not going to get into all that. That's not worth it. But the band split, and Vinny and Dime went off and did their own thing, and the other 2 members, because there's only 4 members of the band, went off and did their own thing. And Vinny and Dime were in a new band called Damage Plan, and even though they're the guys from Pantera... Sit down! Jesus!
I'm cooking eggs!
But you're making a shit ton of noise.
I'm trying to be as careful as I possibly can.
They're doing a new band, and even though they're the guys from Pantera, you kind of have to recut your teeth and build up your brand again. So they're playing a show at this club in Ohio, and there'd been a lot of public back and forth between those 2 and the other 2 from the band about who broke up the band and why they broke up and all that stuff. And a guy who was a fan of Pantera and sided with the other 2, not the Abbott brothers, went to the show with his 9mm silver-plated gun, walked up on stage during this set and put 5 bullets in the dime bag.
Ugh.
And then took out like 2 other people who were trying to stop him.
Yeah, that's horrible.
They say Dime died on the spot.
It's horrible, man. I'm sorry. You obviously you're a bigger fan than me.
Yeah,
it's still terrible.
And it's one of the biggest regrets I have in my life, because I saw Pantera one of the last times I ever performed. Just by coincidence. Like, they didn't say they're going to break up. They just did. And I happened to be at one of the shows. And I was coming into my own when it came to metal music specifically. So I didn't realize the gravity of watching Pantera. Like, I didn't know the 2 songs I just played. I didn't know anything but one song, which is still one of my favorites. But
Of course.
You know, I look back and I squandered this opportunity to see one of the greatest guitar players of all time. You know, Vinny, as a drummer, didn't have that same accolade. He wasn't viewed that way as a drummer. He's an incredible drummer. I'm not taking away from his ability in any capacity whatsoever. But he wasn't at the same level as his brother, and he'd be the first to tell you that. You know,
right.
But it's the music world lost 2 guys, and then you gotta. We were talking about Joe Jackson earlier, and yeah, he's still a piece of shit. But you know, you had mentioned offline that you know how shitty it had to be even for him to bury his own son when Michael died. 8 years ago now, or whatever it is, or 5 years ago, whatever it is. Dime and Vinny's dad's still alive. He's buried both his sons. Like, that's. I don't have kids, so I don't know what that's like. And I never will, but I know people that have kids, and I know that would just destroy them. So
yeah, I don't care how shitty the person is. Burying your kid is just the worst fucking thing you could ever have to do.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just like, and I could. There wouldn't be a happy episode, but I could do a whole episode on dead musicians that were pivotal to the world of music. You know.
Someone made a joke when I turned 27, being like, "Don't get into rock and roll, you'll die."
Yeah. I mean, that goes right to where I was going to go, and that's the bass player from Metallica, Cliff Burton. You know, killed in a bus accident when he was 27. So,
Jim Morrison, there's Janis, they all died at 27.
Absolutely. Kurt Cobain, he was 27.
Jimi Hendrix.
Yep. I mean, anyway, I don't want to. I don't want to go there tonight because I'll go there for hours. But yeah, so I couldn't let that pass without talking about it because guys were pivotal. Important. Yeah, it's so pivotal in heavy metal music. Like a lot of people refer to like Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer as the big four, and they were the four that kind of got us metal-wise out of the hair bands, the Bon Jovis, the Whitesnakes, all those bands. And even though Pantera was around during that time, they weren't known. They didn't really become Pantera that everyone knows until like 1991. And so they were the transition from the big four into the next era of music, metal music, which is your Lamb of God, Shadows Fall, Killswitch Engage, and Trivium, Avenged Sevenfold. So I know a lot of those bands don't mean anything to you, but Pantera was pivotal in that transitional period. And it's just a shame to lose somebody of that because he wasn't. Like not only the caliber but age. Oh, excuse me. Vinny was 54. That's way young. Way young.
Too young.
And then like I said, mention Dime, which the Dime's not listed on this thing about. That's weird. That's very fucking weird. Because I was gonna give you Dime's age for a second because I didn't have it, but he was only in his because Dime died in 2003. It's 2018, so 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dime was in his 30s when he died.
Oh.
He had to be. I got to look this up now before we move on. Give me one quick second. I'll take 2 seconds. Yeah, he was 38. He was my age when he died.
That's nuts.
So, yeah, it's just shitty. And actually, I have to correct myself on one thing. Vinny was younger. I thought Vinny was older for some reason. Dime was the older one. No. I had it right. I can't do math right now. Yeah, Vinny was 2 years older than Dime. So Dime would have been 52 right now. And he was...
Huge 30. Bucket of win.
Yes, to quote Kev Smith, huge bucket of win and for both of them. And actually, I know you're behind on it seems like most of your Smodco episodes right now, but on the last Hollywood Babylon during Tinseltown Stiffs, they do talk about him, and I thought that was very cool because I thought they were, with all respect to Kevin and Ralph, I just didn't think it would fall on their radar. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought they would skip over him when they were doing Tinseltown Stiffs. So when they did it and Ralph mentioned it, I was like, yeah, so. There was
a death I think they skipped or they just didn't focus on.
Okay.
And I think they, not recently, this is a year ago, that kind of still kind of bugs me because either they talked about it and I missed it or they just didn't talk about it. But when Frank Sinatra Jr. died, I was really kind of like, there was no mention of it as far as I know.
No, I think they did talk about it because Ralph talked about when he did the Ghost Sinatra on, I think, was it Kimmel or one of those shows?
Yeah.
He's talked about that, and I'm pretty certain it was when Frank Jr. died that they talked about it. So, I mean, he's talked about it a few times, right. But I'm almost certain they did. They might not have focused on it the way you would have wanted, and I respect that, and I mean that sincerely. But I'm pretty certain they did touch base on it.
Well, I was never a huge Sinatra Jr. fan, but I still it was the closest thing we'd ever get to a carbon copy.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Just because I know you're a fan of Sinatra as a whole, so
yeah.
The really interesting thing about them for me though is I said that they were the transition band to get us out of that hair metal thing, and yet their biggest influences was Kiss, which I think is hysterical. Like that's their biggest influence, hands down, is the guys in Kiss.
I can believe it.
But it's just interesting because they're so night and day from what Kiss is,
Well, I could just believe it because Kiss is just super influential. Like, apart from maybe the makeup, Kiss and Marilyn Manson, their styles of music is not similar.
Right, but see, that's what's that's what Kiss is influential about, and I don't want to get into a whole conversation because I can't. I can. I'll go hours, but Kiss was influential for like merchandising and stage show and production and things like that. Just like Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper's in that same realm, but Kiss as musicians aren't very good. They've got a couple of good songs here and there, but they're not very good. You know, and they certainly weren't very pivotal musically speaking. You know, whereas
it was a lot more shock.
What's that? It
was a lot more shock.
Right. Whereas Pantera is known for how they changed the face of metal music. So, just an interesting thing. I'm not finding fault or saying there's something wrong with it. I just I've known that for years, and the first time I heard it, I was like, "What? How?" But they were huge. They were members of the Kiss Army, and so much so that, and I can't speak for Vinny because this is more recent, but Dime was actually buried in a Kiss coffin.
Really?
Well, they have them. You can buy a Kiss coffin, and in Gene Simmons, in his merchandising genius, it doubles as a cooler. So you can use it as a cooler until you die, and then you use it as a coffin.
Well, you can also use it as a cooler after you die.
Well, I suppose. But if your body's in it, it's a little weird. So,
you just keep the body cool.
Yeah, right. So, anyway, that's that. But moving on to happier topics, we talked about something on a couple of different episodes. We made reference to it. We didn't talk about it very in-depthly, but it's a show that was on, I believe, the IFC network that Jon Favreau hosted. Jon Favreau, for those of you who need refresher, is Happy Hogan from the Iron Man movies and a couple of the Infinity...
Director of the first two.
Director of the first two. He's also in a couple of the Avengers movies. He was in Spider-Man Homecoming in that character. He's also Swingers.
He directed Elf.
Directed Elf, directed The Jungle Book, if I recall correctly.
He's currently going to direct The Lion King.
He's doing The Lion King, and he's also directing, or at least helping create, I don't know if he's directing, maybe the first episode, but they're doing a Star Wars live-action TV show that's going to be on one of the streaming services. It's not going to be on, like, ABC or one of those channels. But he also did a voice in Solo. It's a voice, because I remember you and I talked about that. We happened to look that up, so he's not on camera, it's just a voice.
I don't know if it's motion capture, but he's definitely supplying a voice of a CGI character. He's not to spoil it. It's not a spoiler.
I haven't seen it.
It's a guy that works with Solo in their first crew.
Okay.
And he's got multiple arms, I think, is what I'm trying to remember.
Okay. Well, yeah. But anyway,
But he has a voice where you're just like, is that Jon Favreau? Oh, it is Jon Favreau, because there's not too many other CGI characters that show up, so you're like, oh, it's got to be him. Because it's just by, okay, there's no one else.
Right. Plus, he's got a pretty distinctive voice, I think. So I think it's something you would notice. It's not like, I'm trying to think of one that's got a really distinctive voice, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. Yeah, it's not a Pacino type voice, or even oh shit. All right. What?
McConaughey.
Thank you. So, those guys. But anyway, he had a show called Dinner for Five, where he would sit down with, generally it looks like 4 to 5 people. I think the idea was 5, but every so often you'd have 4, and maybe even less, where he'd sit down around a dinner table at a restaurant, and they would film it. And I'm sure there was editing and all that type of thing, but it wasn't a reality show like we were talking about earlier, where it clearly wasn't scripted. It was clearly just, let's get 5 people together and have a conversation while we're having dinner. And we talked about one of them directly when we were talking about Affleck and Kevin, and they don't call it this, but you called it the Daredevil episode, because it was really just anyone who was in that movie at that time, if I recall. Yeah,
because it was Kevin Smith, it was Ben Affleck, it was Jennifer Garner, it was Colin Farrell, and it was Jon Favreau.
Yeah, so that got me thinking that we should do our own Dinner 5. Not make a show. We're not going to subject you guys to another show. It's bad enough you got to sit through this one. But we are going to put together if we were going to do what would be our 5 and why. So, Rico, you being our resident movie person, celebrity person, I'm going to put the floor to you first. Who would be your dinner for five? Why? And if you want to get into it, tell me what you think you'd be talking about.
Well, I think for the sake of argument, because you can have fascinating conversations with both live people and then people that have since passed.
Right.
So I'm going to propose 2 separate dinner tables.
Okay.
So one for living, one for dead.
All right.
The dead
my caveat is you do the living first. That would be my thing.
Okay. So for the you want more time to think.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
You're like, who the fuck am I going to pick? Okay, so for the living one, because obviously the dead one will be more obvious. The living one, I would love to have a conversation, or at least observe a conversation, with Colin Trevorrow, director of Jurassic World, and was director of Star Wars 9.
Didn't you meet him?
No, I didn't meet him, but I met his younger brother.
That's it. Okay, I knew there was meeting of
and
something
he used
somewhere.
to work at the video room.
Right. Okay. Right. I knew there was a connection. Sorry about that.
Yeah. There's a. We talked about Piedmont Avenue a lot. Colin Trevorrow used to work in the video room that I currently work at. So there's a little bit of woo for that. So Colin Trevorrow, Mark Hamill, Kevin Smith, Kevin Feige, and Kathleen Kennedy. Because I would love to see like Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige and Kevin Smith and Mark Hamill and Colin Trevorrow have like a legitimate argument and be like, and not
they would.
I don't want them to gang up on her, but I want her to acknowledge her reasoning why she fired Colin, what Colin would have said to either his own, like, because I thought about having the director of Last Jedi, and usually I know his fucking name, but I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah. Shit. I know who you're talking about. I'll get it. Yeah. Wait, before you move on, give me your 5 again. So Kevin Smith, Kevin
Feige.
All right, hold on. I'm writing these down. I want to just see something. So go ahead. Okay. Kevin Feige. Yeah.
So Smith, Feige.
Yep.
Mark Hamill.
Okay.
Colin Trevorrow, and Kathleen Kennedy. So it'd be 6 at a table, but that's the 5 that I would pick.
Right. So yeah, because you counted 6, and that's fine because we weren't counting ourselves in the 5. So no worries. I just wanted to, because for some reason I was getting 7, including you. So that's why I was like, wait a minute.
It's Ryan Johnson. I was like, is it Brian? It's not Brian Johnson. It's Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. Oh, for Last Jedi. Yep. Which, by the way, that's on Netflix now. So it's kind of funny to watch that pop up.
Yeah. I mean,
can I go ahead.
What?
No, finish your thought.
Well, I'm saying I bought it from work and I still haven't rewatched it because I was like, dude, 2 is enough. Like, I mean, what were you going to ask me? You're going to ask me the Last Jedi question?
No. I was just going to comment on something. That's all.
All right, go ahead.
No, and we're preparing for that Sherlock episode that we teased earlier. And full disclosure, the BBC version of Sherlock I had never watched yet. So I am in the process of watching that. But back when we did the MC Screwed episode, you said to me, or maybe it was during Infinity War, but either way, you said I was waxing intellectual and giving high praise to Benedict Cumberbatch for doing Doctor Strange. And you said to me, if you like that, you would love his performance as Sherlock Holmes. Well, now that I'm watching that, you're right, because it's very similar. His portrayal of Strange and Holmes. And we'll get into that more on another episode, but I just wanted to say that, yeah, you're right. It's really interesting seeing the overlaps. It's not like he's one-dimensional. It's clearly 2 different things, but there's definitely an overlap.
Well, I think, I don't know if I phrased it on the episode because I can't remember, but I would have said something similar to like Sherlock Holmes, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, is Doctor Strange if he was probably had a little bit of a spectrum, because I always kind of look at Sherlock as slightly autistic.
Oh, probably, yeah. Actually, that came up on Twitter.
So the way Cumberbatch plays him, I always kind of view him as like sort of slightly Asperger.
Who, Cumberbatch or Holmes?
Yeah. Well, both, but especially Cumberbatch.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But I think the character on a whole is usually on some sort of spectrum.
Sure, I would agree. And there's other people that said that too. So.
Yeah. So my dinner for whatever, 5, 6, 7, who gives a shit?
Yeah, dinner for 5. Just stick with that.
Like I said, I don't want to be like them ganging up on Kathleen Kennedy because she's going through a lot of heat right now. I don't agree with a lot of the decisions she's made. In particular, firing Colin Trevorrow and look, I just want to say this: I'm not the type of Star Wars fan that is ragging on her because she's a woman, which is unfortunately a lot of Star Wars fans are like being venomous about. They're like, a woman shouldn't run Star Wars. Fuck her. No, dude, not at all.
No, I know. Yeah. I can vouch for that for
identify as a feminist. I'm fine with having a female protagonist. I was all for Rey.
You just don't like the choices she's made. Not Rey, but I'm talking about like some of the other choices she's made. Right.
Yeah.
But no, I'm saying you don't disagree with her choosing Rey as a lead character, but you have issues with other choices she's made with the series.
I don't think she had anything to do with Rey being picked. That was probably all JJ. I think she approved it. But sure. I mean, a lot of people are hating on Kathleen Kennedy because of like she's like putting in like a liberal agenda or something. And for some reason, Star Wars fans are like, I don't need, Disney is pushing, having a black male figure and a main character and a woman protagonist is shitting on the franchise. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like,
shut the fuck up.
It's Disney. It's going to be a little bit more family friendly than before. Although Last Jedi was really fucking.
They were always kind of family friendly.
Dark. Last Jedi was a little darker. I mean, as much as I despise that movie, I admit that they went a different direction. They went darker.
Yeah.
So, but I would love to see the conversation where she's just like explaining her actions, why she fired Colin, why she approved of Rian Johnson's fucking, I mean, it's a Picasso painting in movie form is how I look at Last Jedi. It is just, it's not a clear portrait. It is just all over the place. The nose is up next to the fucking eye and the fucking ear is down next to the dick. And you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? It's just a weird, it is the fucking walrus from Tusks. It's just stitched together. And you're like, what is this monstrosity I'm looking at? So and Mark Hamill was very much against everything Rian Johnson did for Luke and for Last Jedi. And I would love to see Mark.
At least publicly, he came around.
Oh, I'm sure that had nothing to do with Disney putting a gun to his fucking head.
Or the Brinks truck they backed up to his house and said, here.
Yeah, I mean, but I believe it was like Mickey Mouse coming out of the fucking shadows being like, oh, you think you can fuck with me? I'm going to fucking kill you. Stop talking shit, Luke.
Well, yeah, probably.
So, and not to mention Kevin, what I don't want Kevin, as much as I love hearing Kevin talk, to dominate the conversation. And one of the great things about Kevin is that he can supply many great answers, but he can also ask really great questions. So I want him to ask some great questions, and I want everyone else to answer them. I don't want it to be a Kevin central figure. And also, I want Kathleen Kennedy to ask Kevin Feige, how do we fix Star Wars? How do we do what you're doing with Marvel? Because we both work for the same fucking company. We both have Disney above us. She doesn't run Disney. She runs Lucasfilm, so LucasArts, same thing. So I want her to pick Kevin Feige's brain and be like, how do we do what you do? We have a whole range of characters that are already canon that we can explore. How do we make someone like the Vision, who is sort of not, I mean, he's not bottom of the barrel character, but how do we make him interesting? How do we make a Boba Fett movie and have it be interesting? How do we make a Yoda movie and make it interesting?
Well, for Boba Fett, you don't make it a woman with her tits hanging out. I'm just saying, that's my first thought. So.
Well, I don't know, man. We have different fucking versions of Boba Fett.
Go ahead.
Booby Fett.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, we've hit a new low.
You love me. So, and also to have Mark Hamill like voice his opinion and be like, listen, like I've been living Luke for 40 years. If anybody whose opinion you should trust, it should be mine, not this. I mean, I was all for a new interpretation, but not one that will just destroy the character. I mean, and I know both arguments. I have my own argument, and I hear the fans that have supported Rian Johnson's opinion of how Luke should have been portrayed. Some people are like, well, some fans just want, Luke, the carbon copy, the same thing that we've seen every fucking movie, which is him swinging a lightsaber, looking badass, and being like, I am a Jedi, like my father before me. That's what I wanted. A lot of other people are like, well, let's take that and make him more interesting. Let's add some darkness to him. Let's make him kind of grumpy. Let's have him be a recluse. And, I think there could have been a possibility where we could have combined the two and have a hybrid where in the beginning, he is a grumpy fucking hermit. He is the anti-Obi-Wan or the anti-Yoda. He's like, I made some mistakes. I need to hide the fuck out because that's what Jedis do. But then have Rey redeem him or explore a little bit more of the gray Jedi situation that he sort of enamored, which they really didn't focus on. I mean, they barely touched the whole Luke teaching Rey thing, which is really kind of what we wanted. We wanted, or at least
right.
I wanted,
a
lot of Luke teaching Rey the ways of the Force. And he said, I'll give you 3 lessons. And he only gave her 2. So, it's really, the movie itself is just really fucking frustrating. And I just want to hear Kathleen Kennedy, I just want her to explain herself, but I don't want it to be an attack on her. And I think Kevin would be a great way of diffusing the situation. I think Kevin Feige could give her some fucking pointers. Because there's already talk about Kathleen Kennedy maybe being scooted out.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. There's been talk about her, the fans especially, well, some of the fans especially, have been asking for her resignation. And, I mean, these are also the same fucking stupid fans that are like, we want a remake of Last Jedi. We want, they're starting up a fucking GoFundMe page. Donate to remake The Last Jedi and have it done by J.J. Abrams or George Lucas or Colin Trevorrow. We need to see the version we want. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. The best and worst thing of Star Wars is the fans.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
There's just no pleasing them.
No, not at all.
But I'm all for fans making their opinion public and saying, we're unhappy with Jar Jar, we're unhappy with this, and here's why. But when they're bullying the fuck out of people, I didn't like the character Rose. I liked her in the beginning of the movie, then I really was like, wow, what a fucking departure of something great. She became one of my least, an interesting character who became one of the more frustrating characters. But that doesn't excuse the fact that people are bullying her and she had to quit social media because she was getting threats. And it wasn't even about her character. It was about her race and her gender. And it's fucking, I look at what happened to Jake Lloyd, who played young Anakin in episode 1.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a fucking kid, man. Do you know what is going on with Jake Lloyd right now?
Is he in jail for something? I thought he was in jail for...
He might be in jail, but he's a schizophrenic right now, off his meds. He attacked his mother. He's been he went on a high-speed car chase with the cops. And Star Wars has ruined people's lives. Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, almost committed suicide.
Okay. I mean, I get it.
I'm just saying, like, there's got to be, like, the Star Wars fans, and I am a major fan, but bullying is fucking bullying. And I think Kathleen Kennedy is not responsible for it, but she also should have had enough clear insight to look at the controversy that Last Jedi would have had before she said, this is approved. I approve of this. Same with Solo. I mean, she is sort of ignoring the fans. Rian Johnson, who I respected as a filmmaker, because I love the film Looper. I love his movie Brick. He's told the fans basically, go fuck yourself. Like, without saying go fuck yourself, he's just saying, all you people that hate my movie, tough. Like, deal with it. I know what I did. I believe 100% that I did the right decision. But if you have to explain, and he had to explain his movie numerous times, that means you didn't really succeed.
Right. Hey, listen, real quick, I have a Jake Lloyd update if you want it.
Yes.
So, now this is, last information is from 2015, so I'm not sure what's going on now. He quit acting in 2001 because of the bullying he was getting at school from his role in Star Wars. That's number one, mm-hmm. To your point. And then in 2012, he was going to direct a documentary. I don't know that it ever got made. It doesn't say. And then apparently the actor who played young Boba Fett in episode 2 started a music career, and he was going to direct that music video. That failed through. Mm-hmm. And then in 2012, he talked about why he retired, the Star Wars stuff. He actually sold all his memorabilia, Star Wars memorabilia, just to get away from it. And then
I heard he destroyed it. I heard he like burned and destroyed all his
he doesn't
Star Wars
it could have been. It just says he no longer keep. I assumed he sold, so that's my fault. But and then on June 17th of 2015, he was arrested for reckless driving without a license, and resisting arrest. He was moved from jail to a psychiatric facility after he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And that's the last update that I could find. So I don't know if he's still incarcerated, for lack of a better word, or he's just out and dealing with that. But
committed.
Yeah, I don't know if he's committed or not. But
I read his mother had quoted that he had attacked her.
Right, that's what he got arrested for.
Yeah.
So
I mean, would he have done that anyways?
Right, that's the question you have to ask, and I'm not dismissing what he's been through in terms of the bullying and all that kind of bullshit. But was he going to go through this kind of stuff? Not the bullying per se, but the schizophrenia and all that, just because was it in him the whole time? Or was it triggered from the bullying from the Star Wars, or what? And that's unfortunately a question we'll never get the answer to. But and I know people that deal with mental illness and nothing on that level, but it's a hard fight. So regardless, I have empathy for him, because it's not an easy battle, and I hope he's got his grip on it and he's going to be okay. But anyway, I just wanted to give you an update on, because you mentioned it. I wanted to get some facts for you. So,
and I appreciate that. So that would have been my conversation piece. I mean, yes, it's more or less everything we've talked about, which is Star Wars and Marvel and Kevin Smith and everything. It's just basically every one of our episodes just boiled down to one fucking long conversation altogether. But I'm very interested in everyone's opinion on that, especially Colin Trevorrow, because he can't really publicly talk about everything. In part because he's still connected to Spielberg. He's sort of he was one of Spielberg's proteges in a weird way, just like J.J. Abrams. I mean, that Colin and J.J. and even Rian Johnson, they're all like fans of Spielberg and everything. So, which is sort of why he was, after Jurassic World, he was sort of like tailor-made and set up to do Star Wars 9. And Kathleen Kennedy and Spielberg are way old buddies. because Kathleen Kennedy was like Spielberg's assistant. That's sort of how she got her career, was like she was his assistant and then became a producer and sort of like worked her way up through his influence and through his connection. So
real quick, over the 2 weeks that we weren't recording, I kind of got into a mood and watched Crystal Skull and Last Crusade again. And I watched the extras and whatnot, and I saw her pop up and never put the math together. Like, I saw her, I was like, holy shit, that's... Like, when I saw her, I knew who it was, but, like, when they put her name on the screen. But I would have never connected her all the way back to those movies, is what I'm saying. That she was the one now running Star Wars. No, yeah, I get it now, and they talked about how long she's been part of all that, but, like, I would have never... Prior to seeing that, I would have never put it all together, if that makes sense.
I want to say that I think her first official producing credit with Spielberg was E.T.
That I don't know. They didn't get into that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was her big one.
All right.
So that's my opinion. I mean, that's who I would pick. Because as of right now, that's all the sort of celebrity like gossip conversation I would love to hear, and I would also love to hear for them to talk about what I was just talking about, which is like the fandom,
right?
You know, and who is. Are the fans allowed to be this ravenous and this, like, you know, rabid? You know, because when you break it down, even I can admit, it's just fucking Star Wars. It's about, it's about a family, that is fictional in a fucking fictional galaxy a long time ago that, yeah, we didn't make them, but like we feel like they're part of our family in a weird fucked up way. We feel like the Skywalkers and the Solos are sacred.
Star Wars fandom, more than any other movie series, is very unique, I think, in that exactly what you just said, that people feel like they own part of the story, part of the series, and when you fuck with their toys, they get angry. And I think that happens more with those movies and that series than anything else.
Yeah, because even something like, Star Trek or Marvel or DC, like, we will accept changes. We're not happy about it, but we will accept it. Like, if they all of a sudden, like when they do a big departure with Batman, we're not happy, or Superman, or if they change the costume or the character, like the Mandarin for Iron Man 3, that was the only kind of thing I was fine with that, but do I really want to see your typical Mandarin villain? Sure. But I also think maybe Marvel got a little nervous because they don't want to traditionally portray like, an Asian stereotype, which is I think what they were worried about.
Well, that, and there was a lot of the stuff with real terrorism from that region of the country, or the world, I should say, at the time that they made the movie, and I forget if you said this or someone else said it, but the biggest complaint I heard about it was that they took one of the world's greatest actors in Ben Kingsley and turned him into a buffoon.
It must have been someone else, because the second part of, like, when he is revealed, spoiler, as not the Mandarin, he's just some Cockney, drug-addicted British, like, drunk.
Yeah.
It was a twist I was not expecting, but I was like, okay, I can get into it because whatever.
Right.
But for the first half of the film of him, what we're believing he is the terrorist, he is the Mandarin, I loved his portrayal because it was a little bit of like all these random things. He had like these Elvis aviator sunglasses.
Right.
He had like a beard of Bin Laden. He had some Asian influences and Middle Eastern influences thrown into his costume. He had the 10 rings, just like, the actual Mandarin would. He had a fucking, the guy has a tattoo on the back of his neck that is of Captain America's shield.
Does he?
Yeah.
I'll have to go look at that.
And it stood for anarchy instead. And his voice was like a weird Nixon kind of impression.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
You'll never see me coming. You know me. I'm
was
a
creepy.
big fan. It was creepy, and I'm a big fan of a voice that is like off kilt, and it was kind of like, okay, this is sort of the new Bane. It's like, it's like every new villain has to have like a unique voice. Otherwise, it's just generic and yelling and blah blah blah. But like especially for Big Kingsley to choose a Nixon-esque voice as a villain, that was just, it'd be like, okay, I'm going to be a villain and I'm going to use like Bill, like a really angry Bill Clinton. Like,
right.
Just such a weird choice, but it kind of fits with the character. So I loved what he did for the first part. But my point is that Marvel fans, we are like, okay, we're not happy about this. We accept this. And also Marvel had to like do like a little bit of backtracking, and they had to like, those little one special things they do, this one shot comic kind of like little like bonus features in a DVD.
Yeah.
It showed the Mandarin going to jail, and he's like, he passes by Justin Hammer's cell or something, and then like one of the inmates goes up to him and be like, look, you fucked with the actual Mandarin. So it implied there's a real Mandarin out there. So I think that was Marvel Comics being like, oh shit, the fans are not happy with this. We need to like suggest there's a real Mandarin, and he's pissed off that he was like, copied and fucked with. Whereas Star Wars didn't do that. Star Wars hasn't done it.
Right.
And Solo is going through a lot of controversy. Solo is a fucking, like, it's a bomb. It's like the first Star Wars bomb.
Yeah, it's a bomb that still made like $300 million.
Yeah, but that was because their budget was too big, and they didn't have any good marketing. And if they had, and here's the thing, moving forward, and Kevin said this in an episode of Batman and Batman last night that I watched, and I agree. Moving forward, the first thing you have to do is trust your directors or director. If you fire someone, or if you're unhappy with the way they're doing it, then that's on you. If you have to go through an interview process, you have to go through a screening process. Don't go who is popular. J.J. Abrams is popular, but he also is a great filmmaker. Rian Johnson is a great filmmaker, but also has not had any experience with a budget this huge or a subject this important. He's done his own shit. He's done his own stories. Taking Star Wars and doing it his way was a mistake. You have to do some fan service, which is what I think Colin Trevorrow would have been perfect for, because Colin Trevorrow made Jurassic World, which is a lot of fan service, but he also went in a different way.
Right.
And that's why, for me, Jurassic World worked very well. Is it the best? No, but it's definitely one of the better ones.
Right.
So that's. I mean, we're, as usual, I'm just expanding. You better fucking come up with your 5 people at this point, because I've been talking for 30 fucking minutes about this.
I do have a list. I don't like it, but I have one. So I got my 5. I did make a list while you were talking, and I was paying attention. I had to stop to look up Jake Lloyd, so give me some fucking credit here. Jesus.
No.
So I feel like your 5 was well more thought out than mine, because even though I had more time to think about it, your 5, you had a logic behind your 5. Mine, just people I want to spend time having dinner with and hearing them talk to each other. You know what I mean? Sure. So mine's completely selfish. Like, you want them to talk to Kathleen Kennedy and give her some ideas, and you want Trevorrow to get a chance to speak his piece and those kinds of things. And me, I just want to sit down with these 5 people and have some drinks and hear them talk. Because I think the conversation would carry itself, and I wouldn't have to say 2 words. So,
yeah, you don't really necessarily need a goal for the conversation,
right?
Whereas I want a goal.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. Please don't take it that way. But for me, it's hey, there you are.
There I am.
So here's my 5, and then in no particular order. and then we can discuss, because I don't think I can wax as rhapsodic or intellectual about my choices as you did. So,
I'll take that as a compliment.
It probably is, yeah. Only because I can't find a way to make it a negative. So, here we go. Kevin Smith, which for both of us makes sense, right? I mean, that's what brought us together to do the show.
Of course.
You know, it's that whole thing. So, but on top of that, aside, he has a lot to say. And it's not bloviating and just running his mouth for the sake of running his mouth. He would tell you he's not very intelligent. I would disagree with that, because I think he is very intelligent. And
I would disagree with that too.
With me or him?
I would say he's an intelligent person.
Right. And then the difference is he equates intelligence with guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson and, you know, that level of people, doctors, lawyers. You know, I'm probably paraphrasing, but I'm a silly filmmaker. Like, I don't, you know, who makes dick and fart jokes for a living. Like, that's what I do. But in and of it, he has his level of intelligence that's pretty high, you know? So, and if you ever hear him, and I know you have, but I'm talking to our listeners, if you ever hear him go on these diatribes he goes on when people ask him questions, like, I think it's, which evening with Kevin Smith was it where he calls the girl cum? He says she was cum when they made Mallrats. Do you remember which one that was?
That was...
was that Burn in Hell?
That's Burn in Hell.
Okay. So in that one, they set up a Q&A. The point was for him to do a Q&A and him to answer questions. He answered 2 questions in a 2-hour Q&A.
That's how it was when I saw him at a Q&A.
Right. I was going to say...
When I talked to him, I was the second question.
And the thing was over. But, and before we go over into the rest of mine, were you, to quote Gladiator, were you not entertained for the whole...
I was entertained, but because I saw both a Q&A and then Babylon right afterwards.
Right.
I was more entertained with Babylon than I was with the Q&A, because the Q&A, he had talked about, well, no, I take that. I mean, I was entertained, but there were a couple times where I had felt like I had heard his jokes before. He was a little repetitive.
Yeah. And
so there was 1 or 2 times where I'm kind of like drifting, not falling asleep, just kind of like my attention went somewhere else.
Gotcha. I got you. But to use his lines, I could listen to him read the phone book. Do you know what I mean? So,
sure.
Anyway, so then next on my list is Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller.
Oh, that'd be good.
Because he's incredibly intelligent. Like, I just listened to the Smodcast where the 2 of them were on it, and that's kind of where I got the idea. It was like, I want more of this. I want to hear more of this. You know, the 2 of them. A good
chunk of the conversation would be the 2 of them talking about how they lost weight, because Kevin adopted Penn's way of losing weight.
And that's why he had Penn on the episode, honestly, was because of that.
Go ahead.
No, go. What were you going to say?
I was just saying, Penn is great to talk to. I would love to hear Teller have a conversation.
I would, but that's one of the things that he talked about on that episode. I'm going to jump off the Dinner for Five for a second, is Kevin was asking him kind of about the fact that, you know, people don't hear Teller. Well, one of the things I didn't know, and it was all peek behind the curtain, and I don't know if I wanted to know this because it took away a little of the mystique for me, but apparently if you go to a Penn and Teller show, they'll come out and talk to you, both of them. Like, not during the show, but like after the fact. They'll mingle with the crowd, and they'll talk to you. You know,
my stepfather, he went to a Penn and Teller Vegas show.
Right.
And he was brought up on stage to participate with the trip.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I don't remember if Teller spoke to him, but I mean, he talks about highly.
He generally doesn't speak when he's on stage. That's the thing I got made clear, is he doesn't generally talk on stage. But if he's in in a crowd of people, he'll have a conversation. Like, it's not like he never talks when he's in public, because what I thought he did, I thought he just never spoke when he was in public, and that's not the case.
I honestly, I think he was like on The Simpsons, and I think but I think there was like controversy about like whether it actually was his voice or not.
Right. I don't know about that. I know he spoke on The Big Bang Theory. We talked about that a couple episodes back. He did get a line on The Big Bang Theory. So
we did.
But anyway, so moving on, then Mark Bernardin. Now I know I sound like I'm placating to our Smodco world, but Mark Bernardin is maybe one of the most eloquent people I've ever heard in my life. That guy, and he's quick. And he's smarter than I think people give him credit for. And what I mean by that is, like, he's not doing something more important with his career in that industry. Like, he should be where Kathleen Kennedy is, or a Kevin Feige, or one of those guys. Like, he should be at that level. Maybe not in those roles, in those particular studios, but definitely at that level. And he's not, and he should be, because he's that good, you know?
I would agree with that. He definitely, Kevin has phrased it a lot, which is like, fuck, dude, you need to be working a whole lot more.
Right. Or what? I love when they're pitching movie ideas, and he's like, fuck, I hate when I want to see your movie more than the one that's coming. You know?
Yeah, they did a whole Creed thing last night. I was like, fuck, that does sound really good.
I'm actually looking forward to watching that. I'll watch that tomorrow probably. But, so Mark Bernard. And I have to thank Kevin for introducing me to him, because let's be fair. Would we know who Mark Bernardin was if it wasn't for Kevin Smith? Probably not.
Probably not.
You might, because of how versed you are in movies and TV and that kind of thing, but I certainly wouldn't have.
No, I wouldn't have, because as much as I respect a writer or a TV writer, they're always kind of like, you know, I don't watch credits of like Supergirl.
Right, but his star is rising, so he might have gotten to a point where you would have heard of him. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe not as a writer, but
eventually.
Right, that's my point. Whereas I may never have heard of him if it wasn't for Kevin. So,
right.
Or I would have seen a name and like, oh, I've seen that name before, but I wouldn't be as familiar with him as I am. And I say that ironically because I don't know him from a hole in the ground, but he's from here. You know that, right? He's from Philly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is Ralph.
So is Ralph. So is Andy McElfresh from Education.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, there's a lot of East Coast blood
in that family. Yeah. Which, by the way, did you hear about the pub quiz they're doing? Education. Mm-hmm. They're starting a weekly pub quiz at the Scum and Villainy Cantina, where you go down there and you basically do like bar trivia, but it's going to be more centered around like Kevin and things like that. But there's 10 rounds, and each round has a winner, and they get a prize. And like one of the prizes is the jersey off Kev's back that night. He's literally going to take it off and hand it to you.
I like it.
Another prize is he's going to do the outgoing voicemail on your voicemail. Like if someone calls you and gets your voicemail, it'll be Kevin Smith going, "Hey, this is Kevin Smith, blah, 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 blah. Here's so-and-so."
Hello, it's Kevin Smith.
That sounds a little bit more like Rogan, but okay.
Well, Kevin does this thing where he's like, "Hello, welcome to Kevin. Oh." He does that kind of deep, "Hey, what's going on?
Hey! But yeah, so there's that. And then he, forget what some of the other, and then it's just going to be other swag from the PodAskew universe and that whole thing throughout the different rounds. So yours was Bernardin, Smith. I'm not done yet, but yeah.
I know. I'm thinking. I'm just trying to get them all. So and then it was Penn. That's the three that you said so far.
Penn, Smith, and Bernardin. Yeah. Okay. Then Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Oh, that'd be the nicest looking guy, the nicest looking rock star ever.
But also one of the coolest motherfuckers I've ever seen. Like I've heard.
You saw him live?
No, but I have the 8-part documentary he did about the one album they made, and I really kind of dove into Dave Grohl. Like, I started watching a lot of videos and interviews, and like the dude is highly, highly vested in music. He's not just there for the money grab or the fame. Like, he loves music to the same level that I would say I do. The difference between me and Dave Grohl is he can perform it, you know? So,
I mean, when he broke his leg on stage,
Yep.
he had it casted while he's still playing music.
well, no, they did.
Whereas, like,
They did pause the show for like 20 minutes so that he could get it casted, and then he went back out and finished the show. But
that's
yeah.
my point, though. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He was just like, I broke my leg. Wait 20 minutes while I go put my leg in a cast. I'll be right back. And he just comes out in a fucking chair.
And then he had like a throne made and did the rest of the tour. Like, they didn't stop the tour.
Whereas I've heard of like fucking, pieces of shit pop singers like Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Like, he threw up like milk one time. He's like, I'm done. Or like someone threw like a shirt up on the stage because it's crazy concerts and shit. And like, that's it. I'm done. He walked away. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, you are such a piece of shit.
I'm rough, yo. You like that?
Your impression of his is like Kevin's impression of him.
That's what I was getting it from. Yeah.
I know. It's so good. Like, I'm a believer, yo.
Yeah. So, but like, I'll give you an example from that documentary. So it was an 8-part. It was more of a mini series that he put on HBO, but he directed it. I think he basically shot it. And what they did was on the Sonic Highways album that they put out a couple years ago, it only has 8 songs on it, and they recorded all 8 songs in 8 different recording studios from throughout the country. So they went to one studio, set up the whole thing, recorded a song, broke it all down, went to a different studio in a different part of the country and did it again. And used different influences from that style or from that city for the style, for the song, for that recording. And he documented the whole damn thing. And one of the ones he did was at a studio in New York City, which the name of it escapes me right now, and I'm really pissed off. I want to think it's the Powerhouse, but I could be wrong. That's not the point. The point is, at one point during a break, it's him, the producer, and I think the drummer who... Oh, what is his name? Shit. Can you look up the drummer for the Foo Fighters for me, please?
Sure.
Anyway, they're out on the street just taking a break, just standing there getting some air, talking or whatever, and this family walks by, and the kid, who's got to be 10, stops and goes, holy crap, you're Dave Grohl. Like, I don't think that's exactly how he phrased it, but he recognized Dave and was like talking to him for a minute, and he's sitting there talking to these people for like 15 minutes, and then goes, so at one point they said, what are you doing here? Did you find it?
I did.
What's his name?
Well, there's 3. So since 94, it's Dave Grohl, as well as, and then there was Taylor Hawkins, and there was William Goldsmith, who was from 95 to 97.
Right, so Taylor Hawkins is the one I'm thinking of, because he's the active drummer in the band now, because Grohl's strictly on guitar.
I just thought it was really funny, like, who's the drummer for Foo Fighters? I'm like, it's Dave Grohl, apparently.
No, he was on the first Foo Fighters album. He played every instrument. He was the only person in the band, and then he built a band and moved on. But that's another story. So they're on the street, they're talking, and at some point, one of the parents or whatever said to him, "So what are you doing in town? Like, what's going on? Like, just conversating, right?" And he said, "Oh, I'm making this album, whatever. Hey, you guys want to come in and hear it?" And he brought them into the studio. Toured them around the studio, let him hear the track, and I think he gave the kid a guitar. Just because he's Dave Grohl.
I saw a video recently of Dave Grohl with a kid who came up with he called him Kiss Kid or something.
Oh, I think I saw this, yeah.
And this kid had Kiss makeup. We were talking about Kiss earlier, so it just reminded me of it.
Yeah.
And he rocked out with a fucking, and I think Dave Grohl gave him the guitar then.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, and then he respects music so much. Like, he loves the Beatles. He loves you know, he loves the Stones, which I'm not a big fan of, but that's another story. But still, like, he looks at the history of music, and then he recognizes it, and he loves it, and he's teaching it to his daughter. And his daughter, if you look it up, there's a video of him playing an acoustic guitar and his daughter singing an Adele song, and she killed it. It was ridiculous. Really? Yeah, it's really good. And he's so proud of her, and you can see it in his face. So I definitely got to meet Dave Grohl. Like, that's on my bucket list at some point to meet Dave Grohl. So if I get to pick my dinner for 5, he's got to be there. You know, like, if I'm ranking these people at this point, I haven't hit number 5 yet, but if I'm ranking them right now, like, for me, it's Kevin and Dave. No disrespect to Mark or Penn, but, like, that's 1 and 2. And really, at one point, I was going to ask you if I could make, like, 2 of them, 1 for music and 1 for non-music, because I was really having trouble putting 5 together because of that. Because there's a lot of music people No, I'm not going to do it, but I cut a lot of people out that I would want, like James Hetfield from Metallica, because he's not on my list. And you know how much I love Metallica. So, but my number 5, getting back to my selections, and this is the one you'll appreciate the most probably, is RDJ. I want Robert Downey Jr. there.
I considered having RDJ on my dais, primarily, but then I switched to Kevin Feige. Because I was like, who would be influential in the conversation? But also, I think, as much as I love RDJ, I think he would kind of be the token asshole of the group.
I don't think so. I think if this was him, you know, circa Scanner Darkly or maybe Zodiac, yeah, probably. But since Iron Man, I don't know.
I think he and I both have this similar thing, which is we're not really an asshole, but we just sound like we're an asshole. We have a really shitty tone of voice.
Yeah, you do.
because I had people who are always like, "Are you okay? Like, calm down. It's okay." And I'm like, "I'm fine. What are you talking about? I just sound like I'm frustrated all the time."
Yeah, I've never felt like you were being an asshole to me, but there have been times where I've been curious if you've been pissed off, whether that would be at me or something else, and you're like, "No, I'm good." Yeah. So
I'm just like, "No, dude, I'm fine." Steph does it all the time. Steph's like, "Are you mad? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine. I just have a very distinct, like, fuck you voice."
Yeah, resting fuck you voice.
Yeah, that's what I called it, resting fuck you voice. Or no, I called it resting bitch voice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that probably fits the dynamic better. But I think that'd be a fun conversation because, you know, I have a feeling that Mark Bernardin could hold a conversation with Dave Grohl on music that we're not even aware of because he's never had the chance or the need to get into that on any of the shows we hear him on. Do you know what I mean? And Kevin loves music. Like, if you hear him talk about music, he does. Maybe not to a level of a Dave Grohl or something of that nature, but he really does. Like, the soundtracks to his movies are very important to him. You hear about the different styles of music he listens to. Just going back to the soundtrack thing for a minute, like, I would equate the level of soundtrack importance to Kevin to the same that it is for Quentin Tarantino. Because Quentin is very hands-on with the music that goes into both his movies and on the soundtracks.
I almost considered having Quentin Tarantino on my dais as well.
Yeah, cool. Because Quentin, again, going back to Kevin, you hear him talk about Quentin because him and Quentin have been friends and friends is maybe a loose term, but they certainly do like each other and have spent time together. But I don't know that he's...
Did you see not deleted scenes, but the bonus features of Clerks 2?
I'm sure I've watched it. I don't remember at this point, but I'm sure I watched it.
There was a part of the making of for Clerks 2.
Okay. I'm sure I've seen it.
It shows him bring the rough copy or the actual finished footage to, I want to say, Robert Rodriguez's house.
Okay. Rodriguez or Quentin?
Rodriguez.
Okay.
And Tarantino was there as well because Rodriguez and Tarantino are just basically brothers. at this point.
Right.
So, and it's really fascinating to watch Tarantino like gush over and geek out over Randall and Dante.
Oh yeah, he loves those two characters. Yeah, I knew that.
And how he's critiquing Clerks 2.
I think I need to go watch.
And you see Kevin like in the doorway of like, or the patio, like the outside doorway, just chain smoking Marlboro Ultralight 100s or whatever.
Right.
And just like, and it's not like he's just lighting up repeatedly, because you could tell he really respects Tarantino's.
Oh, totally.
Opinion.
Yeah.
And Tarantino's just like, yeah, it's so interesting. I love how you did this. And Rodriguez is just like off to the side being like, I thought it was very good. I think you did a good job.
Not to mention, I mean, you get Michael Parks in Red State and Tusk because of Tarantino.
Yeah. And when Michael Parks died, they did a whole episode, a sort of RIP for Michael Parks.
Yep.
And Smith talks about how he went to Tarantino's house.
You stole my story, damn it. I know exactly what you're going to tell. No. Finish it. I want you to finish it because you'll say it better than I will.
And how Tarantino, like, just like has like VHSs everywhere and DVDs everywhere and actual film reels everywhere. Like his whole house is just a museum to movies. And he pulls out a VHS tape which just says Michael Parks like greatest hits or something.
Oh, right. That he compiled, if I recall. Like it's a VHS tape. Yeah,
it's just like, and he just puts it on, like not even like we're watching this, just like, okay, I'm putting this on whether you care or not.
Right. Which Kev didn't care, but yeah.
It was such a great episode. I mean, here's the thing is when Steph was in town, we watched both Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Oh, good movies. I like Volume 1 better than 2, personally.
I like Volume 2 better.
Well, there's a couple reasons. We can get into that for a minute, but...
Yeah, we'll do a whole Tarantino off at one point.
I'll tell you, for me, it's the anime. It's the whole sequence from the beginning of Oren Ishii to the end of the movie. That's why I like the first one better. The whole story of Oren.
And I can appreciate that, and I can understand that. I like Part 2 more because it seems more poetic. It's more of a Western.
Yeah, no,
it's
I'll
like
give you that.
Western with like Japanese and Asian influence. Sorry, the entire time we were doing this, I was like ordering food because I'm like, those eggs were good, but I don't want to cook anymore. So I'm like ordering Chinese.
Oh, what'd you get?
I ordered from a place that's like nearby, so I've never had them before, but I got Szechuan chicken, orange chicken, some steamed rice, some pot stickers, and a Thai iced tea because like Thai iced tea is my fucking jam if they ever serve it at an Asian. I was like debating, there was like a Chinese place that also had sushi, and I'm like, there's sushi soup.
Is that spicy iced tea? Like, I'm not being smart, but is that basically what it is? I've never had it.
Oh, dude, Thai ice, have you ever been to a Thai restaurant?
Once.
Do you like Thai?
I do, but I've only been once, so.
Okay, well, you can get Thai food that's not spicy. If that's
No, I know that. No. I know that. I was just wondering of like what makes it Thai iced tea versus like iced tea.
Thai iced tea is the way it's not spicy. It's definitely, I'm not a tea drinker in any way, unless I'm like having a cold or I'm having an iced tea.
Sure.
Like, I like my fucking tea like Southern style, like super sweet and super strong.
Yeah.
But I'm not a casual, like, I'm going to have like tea instead of coffee. I'm always going to drink coffee.
Yeah, me too.
So Thai iced tea it's sort of like a stronger tea flavor, but it also comes with, it's orange. It's orange looking.
Okay.
And it comes with, it's like the burgundy tea looking thing. And they add like either coconut milk or sometimes it's coconut milk or sometimes it's just cream. It's just half and half.
You lost me right there because I can't have either. So.
Okay. Well, you're fucked.
That's all right. I'm used to being fucked.
I mean,
but anyway,
you could probably make your own with like soy milk or rice milk, whatever you use.
Well, I want to get back to my 5 because Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna edit this shit out.
Oh no, no. That shit stays.
This is not the chufta. This chufta stays.
Yeah. So, I think the conversation between, and this is why I think it doesn't fit very well, because the conversation between RDJ, Bernardin, and Kevin Smith could be amazing, and Penn could hold his own in that one, right? But I think Dave Grohl would potentially be way on the outside. But I think
it's an interesting dais for you because you have a lot of people that usually will dominate a conversation.
That's true. Well, no, maybe not Dave, but the other four, yeah.
Not Dave. Dave's going to be the one who's just like, hey, I have a point. Can you hold on for 1 second? Let me stop talking. And like, Penn's going to be like the loudest. RDJ is going to be the one who kind of sounds like he's the most bored. Kevin's going to be the most excited sounding. Mark Bernardin's going to be like, I agree. And here's why. And then
everyone's going to go, shit, that was a better idea than what we just said.
Yeah. Periodically, it's going to be like, RDJ be like, yeah, let me tell you about this one. And then you're going to have like Pendula just like yelling and be like, I'm so happy. And then you get Dave Grohl being like, I have a point. Let me talk about this. And then Mark Bernard will be like, oh, well, you could do this, but here's my opinion. And then it'll end with Kevin being like, oh, it's so good. You're a fucking writer, man.
Yeah, basically. That was good. That one sounded like Kev. The one thing that I think that would be interesting is, I think, listening to Dave and RDJ talk about their issues and experiences with substance.
I don't know if RDJ is going to talk about that anymore, because I mean, maybe for that show, maybe for this, if there's no strings, if there's like no holding back, then maybe that'd be interesting to talk about. But I also know RDJ, I think, is like at that point, he's just like, hey, dude, I did it for Inside the Actors Studio. I'm done talking about it.
Well, no, and I don't think, here's the thing, like, you don't treat it like an interview, right? So, as we talked about, it's more of a casual conversation. So, like, you would hope that like, Dave would turn to him and be like, you know, you and I have that shared experience of dealing with blah, 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 blah. And then, like, because Dave can spin that into a whole thing of what it was like dealing with Kurt, you know, and watching his friend take it to the point of blowing his own head off, you know?
Yeah.
And
if I could ask RDJ a question, my question would be, because he can be very self-deprecating.
Yeah.
I would ask him, how do you feel about all the jokes that came out at the height of your substance abuse? Like, like in basketball, they made a good joke like, this kid's got more alcohol in his liver than Robert Downey Jr.
Oh God, I forgot about that joke. Yeah.
It's like, and I would ask him, like, do you find, because you're self-deprecating, do you find those jokes funny, or are you embarrassed, or are you insulted? Or do you play up off that?
Or both, because you could be embarrassed by it, but also look back on it and be like, all right, it's embarrassing, but it's also funny. You know, you can do that. Yeah. It's possible. So
I'm more curious about that, because anybody who wants any fucking story about RDJ where he's like, you know, he passes out in a little kid's bedroom because he thought it was his own house and blah, 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 or having a loaded gun in his trunk and blah, blah, blah.
And see,
those are all interesting stories, but to ask him how he felt years later, looking back on it.
I don't know enough about Penn's history or Mark Bernardin's history, but like Kevin could even get in that conversation because of all the time he spent dealing with Muse. You know, like,
for sure.
You know, he doesn't have those experiences, and he'll be the first to tell you that because he says that kind of shit all the time. If you listen to, you know, Get Old, but you know, he lived it through Jay, and
I would almost want to have Jay as opposed to Kevin on that day.
Well, for that conversation, yes, I would agree. But Jay, it's so weird with Jay because, and I think it goes back to what you were just talking about Robert Downey, because Robert Downey's different in the sense that you said that, like, he feel like maybe he just needs to move on from it. Jay too, but he's not comfortable talking about it. Like, he talks about it with Kev, and I think the only reason why he's comfortable talking about it with Kev because it's Kev. Like, if you asked him to go out there by himself and talk about it, I don't think he could do it. Like, he can do it at meetings, because I know he still goes to meetings and stuff. You know, AA, NA, whatever. But I I think Jay has trouble with that kind of stuff, and I don't know how comfortable he would have been without Kev there.
Yeah, I think Jay, I agree. I think Jay is more of like, I was like a total fucking like, I think it's humbled him. I think sobriety's humbled him a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is why I'm kind of curious to see how Jay and Silent Bob reboot is going to really be, because, I mean, he was great in Clerks 2.
And he was clean.
I mean, it was the Jay, and he was clean. And it was the Jay that we all kind of love. As fucked up as it is, I like Jay more on screen when he was fucked up.
Well, because it gave truth to this art. You know that old phrase?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, did you see Jay and Bob's Super Groovy cartoon movie?
I did.
He was clean there.
But you're not seeing him. You're just listening.
But it's still him acting the character out. I mean, he may not look the part, but it's still him being Jay.
I think my biggest problem is that recently he had that oral surgery.
Yeah.
And he had a slight lisp that just it doesn't sound like his voice anymore. It just I don't know. It doesn't. It could just be the fact that they're getting old, so I'm getting old, and like this is not the Jay and Silent Bob that I kind of grew up with. It's just an older version.
And what concerns me more about that movie goes back to Steph's point about Strike Back, is them carrying that movie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a little worried about that. I got to be honest with you. Like, I'm still going to go see it. I'm still going to support it. I'm still going to buy it. Fuck, I bought Tusk. But, you know.
I bought Yoga.
No, I bought Yoga Hosers, but I liked Yoga Hosers. I didn't like Tusk. I still bought it.
I got Yoga Hosers signed.
I know you did. Jealous about that one, but that's all right.
I think I am more excited for Jay and Silent Bob reboot than I would be for Mallrats 2.
I'd be more excited about Mallrats or Clerks 3 than I am about this movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is because we've already talked about this. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was my favorite.
Well,
It was my first introduction.
Right.
So Silent Bob, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but I'm also excited to see them be meta with it and like basically make a remake of Strike Back, but also reboot it, just like the title suggests, but also have these brand new cameos, like have Ralph Garman and have probably Mark Bernardin and have maybe even Stan Lee. I mean, it could be. I've heard talk of Stan Lee showing up.
Yeah. You know what we should do? I just had this thought. Because they're starting shooting...
I'm not going to bend over and have you fucked in the ass. I'm sorry.
No. I didn't even know where to go.
I love throwing you off.
Yeah, you do it well. No, but they're starting shooting in August of this year, correct? Or is it next year or this year?
I don't know. I thought he started shooting already.
I don't think so.
I'll look up to see if there's any.
All right, thank you. Anyway, I think they're starting in August, which is like 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away, so not really a problem. But they're starting to shoot, and I'm wondering, so if they're starting in August, how long do you figure it's going to take them to make that movie? Ballpark.
3 months.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. So that puts us
It's
basically...
not going to be that long. So it's set to begin in August. So you're right.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Got a tentative 2019 release date.
What's the date? Does it say?
Just says, well, let me bring up the article.
Probably not. Probably doesn't have a date yet, because I don't know that they have
Bear in mind, this article was written in May 29th.
And I couldn't find a date either. Was that you figured it's going to take like 3 months to make you said 3 months, so that puts us at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Roughly. So, and then you figure distribution's going to take how long before it actually hits theaters? Do you think February? March?
Yeah, probably about February, March. I mean, I also think he could probably push the interest on it because he's going to be talking about it a lot. Because the best marketing tool Kevin will have is his own voice.
Well, my thought is this. Between now and then, do what you can, budget, and you and Steph come to New Jersey and we go see that movie together.
That's going to be tough, man, because we're trying to save up.
Well, see what you can do with your budget and see if it's possible. It'd be fun. It would be fun if we could go.
It would be definitely very fun. And oh my God, it just took me.
I would totally I'd have all the equipment set up and we literally would come home from the movie to my place and record an episode. I just gotta tell you for once, you don't have to pause this. I just took the headphones off for 1 second to like adjust my ears, and I spoke out loud, and it sounds so much fucking louder. Yep.
It freaks me out. I'm like, holy shit, I'm loud.
Yep. It gets like that.
Oh my fucking ears, dude.
I know, mine too. And I think that's a clue we need to move on. So on that note,
do you want to do a dinner for 5 for the dead people?
Let's save that for another one. What do you think?
Okay, I agree.
Well, they'll give us time to come up with some good ones. I know one right off the top of my head, and I'll say it again. I'll say it now, and I'll say it again then, and that's Dimebag, the guy I was talking about earlier tonight.
Yeah,
without question, Dimebag Darrell. Oh.
I think we should combine a two. So we each pick like 2 people and have a table.
Okay, we could do that. That'd be fun. So it'll be 6 people altogether if you include you and me, and then two each. Yeah. I see, right off the top of my head, I'm going to be unfair and say Mark and Kevin. So maybe we have to say they don't count. We have to can't. I don't know.
Well, okay, yeah. I think we should drop Kevin and Mark. Sorry. Although, you know what? We both are like in agreement that if we had a other table, it should just be Kevin and Ben Affleck.
Oh, well, because totally.
Hashtag Kevin Ben.
Kevin Ben reboot. Kevin Ben reboot. You're missing the reboot part. Although I've been slacking on that on Twitter, so that's my fault. But anyway.
But also, we should put Jennifer Garner in there as well. Be like, what's happened? Can we move on from this shit, please?
Yeah, no, fuck that bitch. Literally and figuratively. So, no.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
No love for Elektra.
You broke up the bromance. I'm not happy.
She is the Yoko Ono of Marvel comic figures.
No, she's the Yoko Ono of the View Askew-averse. That's who she is. Yeah. So, on that note, we're going to go now. So, until we talk to you next time, guys, everyone be safe, have fun, enjoy what's left of your summer, and we'll be talking to you before then, but still.
Love you.
What are you, E.T.? Hey everybody, CJ here with a few thank yous, and I'll let you know how you can get in touch with and follow the show and us. Go to iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music to listen to, subscribe, rate, and comment on the show, or Listen Notes podcast search engine at www.listennotes.com. Go there, type in PodAskew, all one word, and you can stream us right there. If you want to agree with or yell at us directly, follow Rico, me, and the show on Twitter. The show is at PodAskew, Rico is at Rants Rico, and I'm at M_Blade. If you need to contact the show for promotional reasons, tweet Stephanie at PodAskewPR. Check out Rico's YouTube channel, Rico's Rants, on YouTube at www.youtube.com/Rico's Rants. Thank you to Dubbed in English for our opening theme music, 96 Reasons. They're no longer online, but you can contact me for a copy of the full song or the entire Plan 9 EP. Thank you to Samuel Lemons for our closing music, Theme Askew. You can find his music on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/Samuel-Lemons. Finally, our biggest thank you is to you, everyone who listens to the show. Rico and I really appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you another episode soon. Hey Rico, they told me you were picking up the check. See ya!
Damn it! PodAskew.